My concern with the beehive was that it had no pad prep. Yeah.
We have our mics on.
In Morgan
None.
County?
I can tell you that it's not flat. It's not perfect. It's flattish, but it'll
Flat
be flat.
adjacent.
And we're gonna have to connect utilities and stuff.
It's
I mean,
below
there's gonna be
6%
some-
grade, so it meets our code.
But yes, you're right. There's going to be some costs there for sure.
Let me see if Raylene has remoted. But you do have a quorum, so. Chair. You're live, and you do have a quorum, but I haven't heard back from Jeremy yet if Raylene's on. He's still working on this. He hasn't responded back yet. He's still working on the server that crashed yesterday.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. It's June 3rd. We're gonna start our,
Raylene is not on.
you can't hear me?
Raylene is not on yet.
Okay.
Just
Well, we have a quorum, right?
correct.
So 3 out of 5. We'll start our 4 o'clock work session. First of all, we're gonna review the bids for the fire station. Has everybody had an opportunity to read through those and look through them? Okay. Did anything stand out to anyone that besides the beehive on the excavation portion?
Just that on Skinny T, I think part of why he was hired is he did include like the bathroom bar and it's extremely detailed.
Yeah, I saw HVAC on, and the electrical can vary so darn much too. I mean, if you just do according to what is that you need to pass inspection, you could have one plug and one light, you know? So, but I did see that everybody included the fans, and it looks like everybody had enough to cover more than just one light and one plug. My biggest concern on it was I'm not a big fan of pole buildings myself, and I don't know exactly what it would cost to put a footing and a foundation on the building, but I worry about not having a footing and a foundation on the building for longevity of the building, because I think if we're going to spend $250,000, if we there's a ditch that runs behind that whole place there. They all water from it. If that overflows, do we have, if you have a footing and a foundation, the water runs around the building where it could run through the building if that were the other way. So that was my biggest concern about, and I know that's how the RFP was sent out, as a pole building. That was a concern I had about it. And I guess we could ask each of them to put a footing and a foundation on there and see what that, what that was. I noticed the price went up quite a bit on all of them from what we had originally talked about, kind of, right?
We made some modifications to include a 6-inch slab over a 4-inch slab.
For the weight of the
Yeah, and then there was something else that was not de minimis of a modification from that meeting.
I wasn't there, but was it an office? Did we add the office or?
No, that was included in our original discussion. So there was, the original discussion had multiple options though, and the least expensive did not include any office space. The most expensive was similar in cost to what we have here.
So I kind of read your
Here.
email, Garrett, on, you look at me with both of your eyes, please. What happened?
I'm not sure.
Billy? Huh. It's like an infection or something, huh?
Well, I think it's allergies, but it
Oh,
could be an infection too. So
don't mess with your eye.
Yeah.
For sure. So you were saying something about when we do it the way we've done it. Explain to me exactly how our rules
code
read.
work.
Yeah.
yeah. So and I hadn't reviewed them very closely. I was just responding to a question about, do you have to go with the low bid? Like, what does that mean? So under our code, it talks about that the commission shall go with the low bid, but it's only if it's a responsible bidder. And so if the bid talked about preparing the ground and it's not part of the bid that comes in, then it can be rejected because it wasn't a bid that matched the invitation, what went out for it. However, I think if you're talking about changing the RFP or allowing those that bid to provide, what would that look like? It still goes under the code 36.02 subsection C. And it says, after advertising once for competitive bids for professional services, the purchasing agent, upon review of the completed bids and upon the advice of the appropriate technical department personnel, can declare the bids unacceptable. And so if the commission is saying we can't do a pole barn, we've got to have the foundation here, then we can re-advertise for bids, or it says the reasons for rejections of the completed bids may relate to all or some part of the bid requirements, or because the bids exceeded the estimated construction costs by an amount that is unacceptable to the county, which you've discussed today. It was higher than you thought. But you can't negotiate with just one of the bidders. So it says no negotiated purchase or contract may be entered into under this Division C after rejection of all bids received unless notification of the intention to renegotiate and reasonable opportunity to negotiate shall have been given by the purchasing agent to each responsible bidder whose bid conformed to the invitation for bids. So I guess the technical reading, when I was talking to Kate about it earlier, she pulled up the RFP, which included the preparation of the pad, and so if you're going to negotiate about a foundation and adding that in, I think you'd have to do that with at least the two that had that as the preparation of the pad as part of their bid.
Well, Beehive did have
Matt,
some of scrubbing some off and putting a certain amount of fill on, or
should we actually be seeing the names of the bidders at this point?
It's not a sealed bid.
Oh.
It wasn't a sealed bid. We didn't post it as.
I just want to make sure, because if we're going to resend it back out, if that happens.
Well, we'll only send it out to the 3 people and ask the
Right. And so, yeah, if they
they
had,
had they had a certain amount of road base, they had
Mhm.
some scrubbing done. Then they just said that it'd be extra if it was, but
if they went beyond that amount.
Correct.
Okay, so technically it could be in there, and so you'd have all 3 that you could negotiate with saying, now we'd like you to add the foundation. What would that look like?
That's a concern. We could always ask for a bid. I think we had tried to go as inexpensive as possible, just because we're trying not to. This doesn't need to be the Cadillac of buildings, but I do agree it needs to last. So
yeah.
whatever we need to do to make that happen.
I don't know what rotting would do on the poles, how long you get out of them, but I would think, you know, even though they're treated posts that they put in there, I guess it'd be that they'd start to rot after 10 to 15 years.
And I think you're right, Matt. And if we want this to be like we talked about, like the footprint for maybe a one in, you know, yeah, later on, then maybe a foundation for sure, I think. Just my thoughts.
I don't have any opposition to asking for bids, including a foundation. I mean, if it comes back and the cost is way higher and we're like, yep, that's not doable, then
Yeah.
it is what it is, right?
Sure.
We make that decision.
Okay, well, is everybody fine with that? Blaine, what's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are, whatever we do, we should not disclose the amount.
Didn't.
Oh, I don't
Okay,
think
I
It's
know,
not in
but
the
I just want
packet.
to precaution us, because the last time we
Yeah.
had a bid like this, everybody knew the answers before, and it then could cause a lot of other kinds of things that could come up from that, and I don't want to do that again.
agreed.
And it's a work session, so you can't action anything anyway.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, I just want to make sure that we've got a good building, if we're going to do it at all. Otherwise, hey, anybody can come up there and put a building in.
You have a bidder here at the mic if you need to ask a question.
I don't know.
I was just gonna say, so I think from us on a bidding side of things and knowing some contractors that have reached out to us as well to provide them a bid to then be the GC on us. The biggest thing is if you guys are talking about the structural components, maybe some clarification on what your expectation for that footing and foundation could be. Just because one, there is a million different ways for us to skin the cat. When we're talking about the footing and foundation for a standard pole building, we can meet all the standard requirements for the engineering for an accessory building or storage facility. Or there's 100 different ways for us to actually do a different type of frost protection per se to make it so that it's designed towards habitable space. And so I would just say is if you guys are going to open up the project for bidding on creating for a foundation or changing that of a natural pole barn, maybe have a direct expectation of what that could be. Just because, again, there's 100 different ways that we could do that foundation that could give you more of a traditional, could be a traditional footing and foundation, or you could do different frost walls, things like that, if that makes sense. And then also, I just wanted to say, if you guys need any sort of documentation as for longevity of a direct ferry post, we have all the documentation that we are willing to give to you guys. In short, my answer would be is all the buildings that we particular design are built to par with the same engineered requirements of a stick frame home. So just kind of think we should take that into consideration as well.
Okay.
Say, let's talk to each one of the contractors.
So you want me to reach out and get an estimate on?
That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Make sure that we have everything that we were supposed to have.
That's what I'd like to do is have do it in a traditional way. Just a traditional footing foundation, stem walls, foundation.
can do that. Do you know where Janet is?
And can you, Kate, can you just make sure that if a little bit more detail on size of mini split or on the HVAC and things like that, it'd be nice to know.
So I'm a data analyst.
Okay.
I brought this to the commission for review before I posted it.
I know,
because I'm
and
a
I was gone.
Mathematician and
And I was gone, and I apologize. I can write a few things down for you,
okay.
but I'd just like to see a little more detail on, so I know we're
So the intent was to do a design build, is what I was tasked with.
correct.
And I
Correct. And so each person basically designed their own thing.
Correct.
So I would just like to be able to understand what they're putting in there as their design, so I can say, oh, okay, well, this could be why somebody's this much higher or lower with the size of unit they're putting in. Something like that. So I think it's worth taking just a few more days. I don't think it'll take very long to get answers back from each one of them. I'll write a list of things that I'd like to know and anything else that you guys would like to know.
Okay.
But I think all we need is a footing with a 30-inch stem wall.
see that is not even English to me, but I will write that down.
The footing with the
What is?
Now, what's a 30-inch stem wall?
30-inch foundation, and that put us below the frost.
Oh, so in other words, down. Okay, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll just write a few other things down and give it to you by tomorrow. Okay. All right. And secondly, discussion and review of a proposed temporary ordinance suspending any further STR applications until the passage of an updated ordinance. Help me with that. That was the addition, correct?
Correct.
So, and Janet will join us in just a minute. She's on with Johnny Miller talking about another item on the agenda coming up later. So when she'll come in, she'll give a little more background because she drafted the ordinance. But I can at least give the background of talking with the involved offices for STRs, that there was general support for just having some pause until we do get the ordinance updated based on all of the surveys that are going out, because it's really it's just moving so fast, it's getting out of hand, and it's really hard to manage it under the current ordinance. I know, well, Leslie's office is involved in that as well, and they were supportive. I know in speaking with Josh, he was supportive of it, and it just gives us that little buffer and breathing space before we take all the feedback from the surveys. So that's the idea behind it. But it's just a point of discussion because we do already have a short-term rental ordinance in place. There's some ambiguity, which is why we've been involved in the update that's going on right now.
Have we had an influx of new applications recently? So
Oh, we to my knowledge, yes, we've had quite a few, and some, well, and it's been probably over the last year to year and a half that they've really started picking up.
And are most of those coming from Rome?
I would say a lot that I see are coming from Rome.
probably gonna see another influx though as that
There's the
other
peaks.
development comes on. Yeah, the peaks comes on. I don't know how close they are to completion.
I mean, they have some of the buildings up. I don't know how close they are, but people, they start coming in and making applications as well. So
So I think one thing to consider, if people are actively buying properties and assuming that they're going to use them as income generating or short-term rentals. I think having some ambiguity in what the ordinance is going to be in the future could be a problem. I'm not a huge fan of halting anything for any period of time, but I actually, the more I think about this, this could also protect some potential property buyers at this time, because I think they'd rather know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I
Then
hate to buy it.
Buy and then, oh wait, the new ordinance doesn't allow me to do what I want to do, if that makes sense. So there could be some benefit to short term. It's 180 days. I would love to see us resolve and get an ordinance in place sooner than that. But that'd give some time, so.
And I don't know the answer to this, but how long is the survey going to be out? Was there a deadline for people to submit responses? Because I think that part of the process of moving the ordinance forward is whatever the commission felt was enough responses to help just make sure everyone's having an opportunity to be heard as we're modifying the ordinance. And so the 180 days, I think we can definitely move it forward a lot faster than that. But if we're waiting, 120 days for all the surveys to come in, I don't think that that's an issue for us to get it done in 30 days or 60 days, whatever it is, after we have all the information that we need or that we're looking for.
What do you think's a reasonable amount to? I don't think we need to do 110 days.
I mean, if we were to do a temporary stay, that would probably elicit some folks to take the survey. That might drive a little more attention to it. I don't know that I wouldn't do it just for the sake of driving attention to it, but it would probably create some more attention for it. And then maybe we give 30 days to survey. I don't know how many responses we've got. Do you know?
We
Jenna?
haven't sent it out yet because
Oh, okay.
you guys wanted it on the trash bill, and we've been a little inundated with people excited about recycling.
Okay. So we haven't sent it yet. Well, maybe as part of this, we could get it sent out and give like 30 days for responses, and then that'd give us another month or two to get the ordinance figured out and put in place. And we're still half of 180 days, maybe. I don't know.
I'm okay with it. I think if there's that much of a problem.
May I ask a question? This is Commissioner Blocker.
Sure.
It says that this only takes effect for unincorporated areas in the county, and not Morgan City. Is that just because it's not in our jurisdiction?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Janet, is there anything you want to
Yeah. Was
present
there
on?
any other background you wanted to give?
What do you think's fair amount of time, Janet?
It's a good start. We can always extend. I just know sometimes getting ordinances passed, it sometimes takes a bit. And it might be worthwhile if we're gonna do 90 days, we schedule a working group to go through the ordinance in the meantime, even while we're waiting for the survey results.
That's a good idea.
So you're proposing 180 days then, not 100.
I just put the 180 in because that's the
That's
max
the
we can
max.
go, and then you guys can take it from there. So we
Well,
can start with
always
90.
rescind it quicker than 120 days too, can't we?
Yes. And so, yeah, if there's a change in circumstances or as part of adopting the new ordinance, you could just revoke the temporary.
But deadlines are sometimes a good thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
this would
they
light
are.
a fire under us too to get it done. So that's good. We don't have this on the agenda tonight, do we? So it wouldn't be till next meeting that we could put this into place, I guess.
No.
I think 90 days is enough for a survey, don't you?
I think 30 days is enough for a survey, and then give us another 60 to get results in and compile a thing. I think we can
Okay.
get this tied up in 90 days or
Okay, all right.
months.
What do you think, Renee?
Yeah, I like the shorter amount of time as well. I think 90 is a good place to be.
Okay, well then let's do that. 30-day survey and then try and have it done in 90 days.
Do we want to schedule a working group?
Get the
Pretty
surveys.
good.
For
Maybe
Start
6 weeks out, because we don't have the survey out yet. If that goes out in the next couple weeks, the ordinance comes back on the agenda 2 weeks from now. Then 90 days from that, do we think that the survey will go out in 2 weeks?
be good. Mike's off. No. I think we scratched that idea in general, and we were talking about every door direct mail.
And we can put it on our website immediately, I guess, if people want to start taking.
It's already.
Or
And so that would put us 28 days from our next meeting is the July 15th meeting, or if we went to the first meeting in August for the work session.
Okay.
So I think one of those two, and then we just plan on making it fall within the 90 days.
It's up to you. The only downside, and I'm mainly speaking for Mike on the first one in August, it sits right after the fair is done.
In August.
You're good with that? Okay. So August 5th work session. STR.
And then what date
Approval of
for
one
approval?
action item.
Approval of.
An action item for that. What would you need after we had a work session? A week or two, or could we get it approved in
Well-
the next session?
We could get.
No, because it would have to go through planning commission since it
Oh.
does, it's a land use. So
Well then,
um,
Matt, do you want to bump it back to the end of July?
do it at the end of July.
Yeah.
So that would be the 15th, right? And then we've got 3 weeks till the August 5th.
I'm sorry, what?
I say that would be enough, a month, because you've got a month of survey. And we have a work
That's-
session.
It'd be 6 weeks of survey from today if we put it on the website immediately and then did follow-up mailings or whatever else to the 15th and then
For a
of
work session.
July. And then after that work session, because it's a land use, we still wouldn't make it to planning commission until August 14th because they're meeting on July 24th, unless they bump it. Maybe if they bump their July 24th meeting to the 31st, it could.
Have a 20,
When are their July meetings?
10th and the 17th.
Yeah. And so if we got it on the 15th, we wouldn't be able to notice it in time until the August 14th date.
Okay.
And then we could have it on the August 19th date.
Okay.
Here, which would be,
Still less than,
that's still only 60 days from,
still less than 90.
so we could still do it. And if there was unforeseen delays, then we'd still have a few more days to get out all the details worked out.
Okay. So
You
I'm.
get that, Kate?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Shanna.
So the other RFPs that I have pending that need to be written is our impact fee, which that one's about ready to go. The water regionalization that you sent, Blaine, and still waiting on one for Leslie's office, and then the one for the sheriff's office for animal control. Remember, animal control bumped us up to 2,500, so we wanted to see what the cost analysis would be to pay them versus create our own. So in that is obviously the second Leslie's is ready, we'll get that posted, but is there anything specifically I need to prioritize in those?
The regionalized water system would be nice.
Right.
And we did allocate funds for that last year. Jared and I were working on that.
Yeah, he said he was gonna help me with the RFP and then he went.
And so that would be, I gave you the one RFP
Yep.
sample
Yes, it is.
for Jones. Done this before.
I'm sure if we approve, or if we move forward with Fields, we're gonna have to have an RFP for that,
For which one?
for Fields.
I mean, for this over here, recreation. Yeah,
We just got the grant for it.
we just got the grant for it to be completed in 2 years. So yeah, that would be another one. We'd have to,
That would be-
if we're gonna have them do that versus we can use our own people and volunteerism on that too.
Well, some of it, yeah, we could have some volunteer work, but like installing a sprinkler system and stuff, probably be major earthwork might be
It's true.
building the trail through there because there's funding for that.
So those are things, yeah, I'd say that'd probably be the one driver here, right there. We've got to have it done in 2 years. We
The
gotta have an
RFP for
we
the,
gotta build, design and build.
Going on too.
Probably lowest on the totem pole would be the water. Or at least getting one ready.
So I was confused when, I guess I better lean forward.
thank you.
I was confused when Brett didn't want to take any of the fill dirt from the airport. Because he said we couldn't put that where we wanted to put it because there's an easement through there. I don't understand what that would make a difference if we added 2 more feet of dirt over an easement.
Yeah, you can put soil. We can't build a structure necessarily over it, but
Sure.
you can put more soil.
Are you talking about over the railroad area or what?
I don't
He
know.
said there's a pipeline easement or something that goes
Oh,
through
pipeline
that,
through
those
there.
fields.
Yeah, that.
Do they go through
is-
way up there? Or is it closer to the railroad? Because most of the easements, most of the.
It's
pipeline
probably
is right
closer to the railroad, is my
Closer.
guess.
I would think so.
Yeah, I doubt it's out near the river. But either way, you can place more soil over the top. They just might have to dig a little deeper if they need to replace things. So I haven't talked to him about that. I know Vaughn did, so I'll follow up with him with Brett about that this week.
My guess, my assumption and guess is that he doesn't have the time. So, but I'd rather him say, I don't have the time to do it. So we can make the decision to say, okay, go ahead, but I don't want to waste the dirt and haul it to have somebody hauling it somewhere where
Yeah, we might if we
we,
got
if we can use it, 'cause
material,
then
we
we
might
end
as
up
well
paying
use it.
for the material.
agreed. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and if we need to hire somebody to haul it, so be it too, right? That's, I guess, an option.
did you gentlemen want to speak again, or? I just noticed you came back, so I didn't know if you wanted to speak. Did you need anything from us? So we're gonna ask the three people that bid it to do a price on a footing foundation, yes. We will give you some more information. Just so everybody's on the same. Yep. Okay. You're welcome. So yeah, if you'll follow up with Brett, just to see what the real deal is there. And if he doesn't have time to haul it, that's great.
We'll figure something else out.
I know Meekums, for another project, had some huge hauling trucks that they can make less trips and stuff like that. And I think they gave Buster a price. From what he told me, Buster was willing to work with us on maybe if we lowered some fees or something like that to help reimburse him for that. So, but he would pay for it up front.
I mean, I feel like it's our responsibility to move that material anyway. Just ended up there from projects that we had
Yeah.
done at the
But Brett was going to look into see and make sure everybody fulfilled their contract. Like,
yeah, if it was supposed to be hauled
Wardell's,
off and
yeah.
wasn't or whatever,
correct.
which makes sense.
Work session.
Okay. Well, we've got
Are there any other items we could talk about at all?
17 minutes.
Watch the FBLA video.
Oh yeah, sure. I watched it. It's really good.
It is
They
really
did a
good.
great job.
Jeremy, can you pull up the FBLA link that I sent you? Please.
Could maybe tell us about this Medici land governance and polymorphic tool.
Do that too.
Utah homeowners, you can replace your old AC unit at no cost thanks to new funding. Millions of
As long as I can remember, I have lived my life behind a screen. Every message, every post, every like a small piece of reassurance that I still mattered.
Oh, shoot. No, it's my fault.
But the more I connect, the louder the road seems. My mind races, my hands move, and nothing feels real. And I am simply not there. Is there any way I can truly find myself? Maybe there's a place where disconnecting is the answer. A place of adventure. A place where you can be anyone you want to be. A place of love, connection, comfort. A place of joy. A place where the only thing that matters is the moment you're living.
Oh, shoot. No, it's my fault.
I've realized that since this place is so beautiful, I've never needed a screen to begin with.
That was our high school FBLA team. They won first prize on that with a near perfect score. And our Tourism Tax Advisory Board has blasted that out on our Instagram, as well as our Explore Morgan Valley website.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Have they by chance sent it to the state tourism department?
they're the ones that awarded it.
Oh, they awarded it?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if this was a different kind of thing. But I'll be using that.
Sean, you want to talk to him about Medici?
All right. So Medici, it's a new program. We're starting with other counties throughout Utah. They're actually working outside of the state as well. It's basically it's an AI generated program. So we connect with them. If when a document comes in to get recorded, we're still working with Simplifile, is another electronic recording. But when a document comes in, it's going to go through Medici and then Simplifile. So it's more accuracy, and it's also indexing it for us. So we can choose where it's going to get indexed, then it's also recording it, and then at the end of the day, it's more accuracy. We're not missing anything. Everything's getting up to date. And then on the side of that, it's allowing us to take all of our historical documents that still have been scanned in, that are just still sitting in the vault. We can take those and we can do 40,000 documents in one. That is scanning, indexing, and where we choose where to go. And then from there, they create an online portal for the public to get on and see. So they'll create an account and they can get on and see every document that has been recorded in the county. Any document, any subdivision plat, any record of survey, any document that has been recorded in the Morgan County Recorder's Office will be online. So it's more of moving forward as a county, as an office, and giving more to the public what they deserve to get as far as their records. And then also allowing my office to get everything indexed.
Does this help title companies at all? Because, I mean, I know every time I go to close on something, my title guy says, when do I have to quit making trips to Morgan to record stuff?
And we signed this agreement.
Yeah, so it will help. Title companies will love it, but also everybody who wants to get their hands on a document, they no longer will have to come into the office. It will be all online. To receive.
Can you also talk about how it'll help us searching those records maps?
On the online portal.
Yeah.
So right now, everybody has to come in. Anything that they want, record a document, plat, regular survey, they have to come in. The online portal, you log in, they create an account, and you'll be able to search by the plat name, record survey number, and it will pull up the PDF of it. Documents that was reported with that subdivision plat will also be with that search that you put in. It will be all right there with it. It's the way that they index it. It makes it easier that you can put in one subdivision plat name. It will bring up any document that was reported along with that subdivision, with the lots, lot numbers, acreage, anything to do with that plat. It will be
So it'll take care of some of the lot line adjustments and stuff like that eventually when we get them all straight.
that will be more on the parcel fabric
Okay.
side of it. That
Okay,
will-
so this is going to integrate between the parcel fabric that we've already are working on. And this one here makes it public, so that way we can access it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the parcel fabric is more getting digital, the digital side of the tax maps, making everything more accurate, updated, faster.
the Medici side is for recorded documents. And yes, it will show the parcel of fabric, the mapping side of it. But they're really two separate. The document will come in and get recorded, but then we're updating the map, parcel map. So they're separate, but they are working each other.
And with them being able to do it digitally, it should cut down on staff time as well.
That being said, we can now work on other projects, getting the office where it should be, getting these documents and indexed, really getting.
Sean, how do they keep things secure? Because I know like title theft is a concern. Are they, I mean, I assume this is their business, they know how to keep it secure, but what are kind of the, I guess, stop gaps to ensure that that doesn't happen?
So Jeremy on IT, he has been with this process. I made sure to ask him. I have kind of left it up to him. He was involved in the meeting a couple days ago with DG. So we could make sure that Jeremy was getting what he needed, make sure the documents were safe, what he basically required for them. So as far as the process to keep the documents safe, that would be more of a question for Jeremy. He's
There he is.
database.
Doctor?
Are you eavesdropping on us?
What I do,
He has.
realistically, they'll use AES encryption with SSL certificates, but the data that they'll have is public data. There'll be nothing private out there.
Okay.
So if they still, the big thing we lose is the monetary for the prints we would get from the title. We don't send any data out there that would be private. It's anything you could go just write it in the recorder's room and look at it right. But yeah, they do use AES encryption with SSL certificates, but they do not have any particular.
Thank you for talking
Thank
into
you.
the mic.
So I was looking at the costs. I don't want too much on that yet, but just really that low.
Surprisingly, yes. So it's a $5,000 onboarding fee. That's a one-time fee. And then yearly it's $1,000. And I would have to budget, it would be, they charge 20 cents per page. So I would have to budget in 20 cents per page for daily recordings, for them to run it through Medici, to record the document, send it off to Simplifio, index it, and have it. So to answer your question, yes, it is. And Duchesne County, they are up and running with Medici. I've talked with the reporter in Duchesne. They're loving it. It has really upped their game for their county and for their public. So it would really be beneficial if we could have this in order.
Does it take any workload off your people? Or does it increase the workload?
It does not increase the workload. It is, we're still checking the documents to make sure everything, state code requires be recorded. But it's not making any more work. If anything, we're able to free up some time to get other projects done.
Okay.
Jeremy has asked for at least 5 minutes to reset the system prior to our 5.
We can ask you more questions later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Test. Jeremy, test one.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So we're not wasting anyone's time. Welcome everyone. Appreciate you being here this evening and appreciate all the work that goes into these meetings and putting them together for us to have them, all the prep work that goes into it before we get here. So thank you, all of you. I'll go ahead and give an invocation and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father in heaven, we bow our heads and give gratitude unto Thee for the many things that we receive. We're grateful, Heavenly Father, for our county and especially our employees that work diligently in serving our community. We're thankful for our community members and the good people they are and all the time they put into serving one another as neighbors and friends. We're thankful for this evening and pray Thy blessings will be upon us as we go through our agenda. Pray, Heavenly Father, that we might be able to make good decisions for our community here in Morgan. We're grateful to be in such a beautiful valley and thankful for the moisture that we've received and the crops that are being grown. We pray that everything will go well for our farmers this year and for those who are running businesses in our community. We're grateful, Father in heaven, for all that Thou hast blessed us with as sons and daughters. We ask Thy blessings to be upon us at this time and say these things humbly in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Everybody to rise, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I've been asked to take off number 4 off the consent agenda and move it to a discussion, an action item. Other than that, is there any other things we need to move on the consent agenda?
I'll move consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 as listed.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Newton, a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? You still with us, Raylene?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, so we will go to action item number B.
Declaration of conflicts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any declaration of conflict this evening? Okay, I have none either. So then we will go to D. Public comments. If anybody has a public comment that they would like to share right now, I'll turn the time over to you. If you could keep it to 1.5.
1.5. She's like, I got 3.
Tina Kelly, Mountain Green. I'm not going to be able to stay for your public hearings. I have another meeting I have to go to. So just on the 2 tax items, I'm concerned that our sales tax is increasing more than I feel it should. It seems like another item, another item, another item. We can increase it here, we can increase it there until
Page 19 of our, or at the beginning of it, right here. Okay, you've got travel and reimbursement for members of the management team must be approved by the county administrative manager, the county commission, and will be reviewed by the clerk auditor. So where the big thing is all out-of-state travel must be approved by the county administrative manager or the commission chair. And I think we need to strike out of there the county administrative manager and put in commission. And the reason I'm saying that is nothing against you, Kate, but you've got a lot of work to do, and I think it's taking the power away from us who were elected to do this job, to monitor and oversee everything that goes on in the county. And so the same with travel by the county commission must be approved by quorum, which is fine. The county administrator shall book all conference fees and lodging. I don't always agree with that because sometimes it's
Say that again. Where are you at?
the travel by the county commission must be approved by quorum, and the county administrator shall book all conference fees and lodging. Only problem I see is like in the last one that we did, we ended up paying extra because they were late. And where I went and did it myself 2 months earlier and got the early bird special. And so I think,
I would also like to point out that you have not turned in your receipts.
I know, and I don't care to.
Okay.
So that's my decision whether or not I want to turn them in or not. And I may not turn them in.
Until the week before they're all due at the end of the next year.
That's fine. If I decide I want to, then I will. And that's the other thing I don't like is the 30 days.
Yeah, no, I don't think that that's appropriate. They need to be submitted on time. We can't wait till the end of the year and then make a decision. Either
No.
need to submit them or don't.
Then I'm not going to.
You really should just submit them. I mean, I don't think it's wise to make travel or do travel without the associated expense. We need to understand the true cost to operate the county, and if that's one of them, then that's one of them.
I have that.
So I'm not
choice.
suggesting that you not get reimbursed. I'm suggesting that you
I'm-
should
I'm
always
just
get
saying
reimbursed.
I may not even ask to be reimbursed. Okay.
Well, may or won't, because that's the issue. If you
Well-
wait till the end of the year and we end up over budget on it,
But we won't.
that's
be.
a problem.
We won't be over budget because I watch it.
That may be, but it seems like what you're doing is seeing what everybody else does with their travel, and then you're just taking up whatever's left.
No, that's
And
not
that's
the
a problem.
case. That is not the case.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever been over budget
Well, then
yet.
that's
on
why I'm
travel.
saying I think 30 days is more than enough time to turn in your travel receipts.
All right. But the other part is
I'm going to agree with Mike on that one. Turning it in 30 days, it just helps everyone all the way around to stay organized.
It also helps us keep everyone on par because when everyone turned like UAC, if everyone that went to UAC, I can see all at once right now in our pay voucher approval, what they paid for their hotel. And I can go, okay, well, that person was more, why? Or that person was less, why? Did they not stay for the whole conference because I paid for the whole conference? Did they go a day earlier? It also helps us keep track of the honesty in that as well.
Okay. But anyway, my biggest thing is I don't think it should be approved by the county administrator, except for maybe the department heads.
Which part?
Well, where it says, well, you got the all out-of-state travel should be approved by us, not by you. Number one, because if we're watching the budget, I think we ought to be the ones watching the budget. Otherwise, we're going to end at the end of the year, and we end up having, just like you're saying, oh, all of a sudden this one comes up, and we paid for this. There's just some events that I've seen people at that should not have been there, and other
I
events
would like
that
to
I
know what
shouldn't have
that
been.
would be.
I would like to do that in a closed session, if I can.
All right.
Okay. And but I just don't think it should be the responsibility of the county administrative manager, because you're an administrative manager, not the county commission.
Correct, but I am over department heads. And
And I think that also I've got written down in here.
So
that I
are you
think- I
saying,
think the
are you
elected
saying
officials-
that the travel of the commission
No.
should be approved by the commission? Is that what you're saying?
well, I think that's how
That's
it's
already
written.
in
That's how
there,
it's written.
and I'm fine with that.
Okay, so what are you saying Kate should not be able to approve then?
Like when
What, like
Boyd
up
went
here,
out of state to
all
check on our
out-of-state
fire
travel?
truck, and I approved it. And we, like last year, we had a couple, we had someone in the recorder's office go to Esri training. That was, they paid for the training. All we had to pay for was travel and training. I approved, it was in, where was that, LA? I approved out-of-state travel.
And I don't have an issue with the administrative manager approving that. I don't think
Which
that needs to
you're
be-
going to have to give me because I don't have a problem with it either, unless you can give me a point to a situation that's created a problem, Blaine.
At our last meeting that we had at UAC, one individual that there were no meetings for that particular department, and they were there. So that was never approved by us as the Utah Association of Counties. That is an elected official responsibility, and all of us that were elected, those of us that went, we were there. There was an additional person from our county that had no additional responsibilities there, and I don't know what the reason why they were there.
I can tell you.
Okay, without naming names or departments.
Because a certain commissioner that I'm looking at right now said in the budget hearing that that person should be going to UAC meetings.
Not the legislative one, just the one in the fall.
That was not clarified.
That was, okay, but that's the one where they need to go to that one. And I agree with you there. I just couldn't figure out why at that one when it was
That is
not even
the
in.
exact reason.
Okay. So anyway, I
But
think some of the things.
regardless, none of those are out of state.
And that person was there for one day,
No, 3 days.
So
not
2
for
days.
a hotel.
Well, I don't know about that part. I didn't care about the expenses. He was there. It's fine. And it was perfectly fine, but it's just, I just wondered why he was there, because it was not an elected official.
Well, I'm not an elected official. And Commissioner Blocker sent me a text and asked why I was not there. And I said, I can't
you
have
did-
all my electeds gone and no one here to take care of my chickens.
And the other thing I have, there's one more item where it says exceptions. County commission exceptions related to the commission expenses must be submitted to the county attorney. Why are we not submitting them to the county clerk?
It's always been the county attorney.
I'm just wondering, he's got too much work to do as it is.
I'm going to disagree with your opinion of our workload. Like, I think we know
Okay,
what
then
we're
let's
doing.
start putting more on you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
fine.
you're good at that.
Where's Garrett?
He's in the hallway. Garrett, there's a question as to your workload and whether or not it's not conducive for you to be able to approve commission travel expenses. Your mic is on.
So that's just been, I guess, the practice since before I got here. And I don't sign a lot of them. I just sign it as they come through to make sure that it's within the budget, because I guess you're approving it for everyone else. And so there's just some check and balance to approve it for you. That's not what takes a lot of my time.
So
Those are very minimal.
And if it was the clerk auditor's office, they're the ones issuing payment, so I would view that as almost a conflict.
Yeah, the intent
Well,
is
they
just an
review it as well,
balance,
actually.
right?
Yeah, the auditor reviews it before I ever see it. And so I'm not doing the research. I just look at it to make sure that it matches what's submitted.
I know you're fine with that.
I am.
Okay.
I can describe what does add to my workload if you'd like. But no. This isn't one of them.
So I think we can work through those situations. I don't see anything that we really need to change other than maybe if we I guess, Kate, when you get to do something, can you throw it on the consent agenda so we can say yes? That's
Like when I approve out of state travel?
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Throw it on the consent agenda. Let us take a look at it. You okay with that, Mike?
Do you want me to do that retroactively? Because I do have some coming up.
So what are you?
Yeah,
putting on that?
throw it on there so we can just
Sorry, say
have our
again?
eyes.
What was it? I didn't quite understand.
Putting out of state travel approval on consent agenda.
Then we
Yes, that sounds good.
okay. Okay.
So if that's the case, are we okay with the resolution the way it is?
Yeah, then I would just need a
25-20.
The only thing is the booking of the thing. Let's see.
do what?
Me booking the conferences
So basically,
and
you're saying we
and
can't
probably the
vote anything
30-day after
unless
completion of
we have
trip.
to bring it for the commission. Contract.
That's the way
That's
it's
what we
always
asked
supposed to have been.
everybody to do before. We asked everybody to put it on the agenda to say, I would like to go to this, just so we can, as a council or commission, say, yeah, I think that's worthy of our spending our money and
I
have a
think
vote
it's
on it.
also
if we
important
need
for
to.
us to understand who's representing us at these events, if anybody. I don't have an issue with that. So
Raylene,
Yes, Chair?
just chime in and say, I'm good with that too, or I'm not, if you're not.
I'm
Because
good
I
with
can't
that.
see
I
the
mean-
look on your face when you're not here.
I'm on video, but
You're not on our
want me to
video.
make some faces?
You're on your video, not ours.
It's really nice to have Kate book those. It feels like you have your own personal travel agent as well. But I can see what Blaine's saying too. Maybe you want to, and you can communicate through Kate.
Yeah.
If they're,
Raylene's asked before to book her own.
or it's just a hotel on my own.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I was late. They were just sold out of all the low rates. So they had to give me the higher rate. A lot of people went.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good we're there. To represent Morgan County and make the connections from people around the state. We learn a lot from our fellow councils and commissioners.
I agree. I think we should always be represented. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve resolution CR 25-28, approving the county's travel expense policy and adding it to the employee handbook.
And adding what?
Adding it to the
employee
handbook.
handbook.
Okay. And we did not change that then for the administrative manager on the commission or for out-of-state travel, or what are we doing?
We said that we would put it on the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll need a second, whether it be from you.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Raylene Walker.
Walker. Are you still counting?
I'm starting right off where I left off. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have one opposed. Motion carries. Honorable Sean Rose.
Correction, if I can. Correction to the actual, the document that was in the packet is correct. The resolution is correct. It was pointed out today, and I apologize for the error, that on the agenda itself, 1A, I mistyped, and the first parcel is 00-0004-0038, not 33. Thank you.
Real quick, these three parcels I'm gonna show you tonight, they were going up for tax sale. Leslie brought them to my attention. We did some research on them, and this is what we have found and came up with. So the first parcel number, the 00-0004-0038, it does not appear to exist on the ground. So essentially it was created by mistake, and it shouldn't exist. So the way, if you go to the map it shows the parcel line and the subdivision, the lot 2. You'll see the highlighted line. Essentially what we would do if we got this abated, the back taxes abated, we would take it and we just delete the parcel, just split it up into 3 and give it to those 3 lots. And so that's how it basically looks now. We're just deleting the parcel and doing away with the parcel number itself, and then the maps would show correctly for that one.
So a question, Sean.
Yeah.
So basically on that one, in this particular one,
Yeah.
it's just that where the yellow line is, correct?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
that thin yellow line,
Correct.
and that's all it is.
That is all it is.
And so we created, somehow in the past, we created a lot for that specific line,
Parcel.
parcel, which is
Parcel
only
for it.
this big.
Not even that. It's very so minimal that if you're not looking for it, you won't see it.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm okay with that one.
Do you want me to just go through all of them? Okay. The next parcel number is 00-0072-4947. So this one, again, is essentially shouldn't have been created. It was created by accident. And so if you can see, it was created in 2006 along with the subdivision. There are no calls in the description. So again, it doesn't exist. So we're asking for this parcel to be back taxes to be abated so we can delete the parcel and correct our map to show that it just basically goes and is included within that Mahogany Ridge subdivision.
So that is where the E is, correct? the
Correct.
page.
Yes. Yes.
And that is just a sliver also.
Yes. Again, it's just a very small sliver that was created, given a parcel number by accident.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with that easement on one of these others.
Correct.
Because it just seems to me like you've got a line here, and then you've got another line, and there's that area in between there. Now, whose is it? Is it the person behind Sally Jensen, or is it the person on where the C is?
On the side where the C is.
So it's now taking out, what about the other side? Or
On
is that-
Sally's?
Well, wish we could bring it up.
So yeah, that highlighted, it goes up into that whole subdivision. So you see the line. It's not just the highlighted. I apologize. I don't know why that one's just highlighted, but it goes up to
25 acres.
Yes. It's that whole line for the Mahogany Ridge.
So that whole area where they say is common area, that is not common.
No.
I mean, the area, okay,
Not for
this one here.
You're on page 52. 52, I think
Right
it
there.
is.
They're back just one little bit. No, yeah, back.
Page
It's on
52 of the packet.
Got page 48.
So keep in mind that these drawings were hand drawn, drawn years ago with very little technology, very little accuracy, and so this is now us coming in and correcting our map, correcting the data, correcting the way that the map should look. We are coming up on these issues, and some of these are coming up on with parcel fabric that's coming up. It's parcels that shouldn't have been created that don't exist. They're not in legal descriptions. They're not on the ground. They were just drawn in on accident, or if someone wasn't paying attention. It's those things that are that have created these that shouldn't have been created.
I think he was just asking whose land does it go to?
It's going to be
Is it
put
going to be
into
Mahogany Ridges or Sally Jensen's? I
Mahogany
guess?
Ridge.
That's where it looks like it should go.
Yes,
So in other words, that line is just going to
correct.
disappear.
Yes. If we have the back taxes abated, we delete the parcel and move that line to meet up along the side with Sally.
Because I know
Jensen.
of many places throughout the county, and you're finding that out too, that are just like this,
Yes.
and there's overlapping
Yes.
everything.
Yes. And with the parcel fabric, that's what they've gone through this whole county, redrawn the whole county, and they come up with a discrepancy. We're researching, finding out, and creating and fixing those overlaps or missing lines.
Okay, that's number C, right?
No, I'm not. This is number B, Steve. Or this is the Cedar Hollow. You're right. Yeah. No, it's part of the. Yeah, it's part of the Mahogany Ridge. So, you've got an easement there at the very back, and it looks like it goes a long distance, and not that one. It's this one. It's circled in red.
Yeah, so you're talking that it goes up into the subdivision above it to the north
Yeah.
of it. So
Oh,
that's
this one right here.
yeah. So that's where I'm saying keep in mind that these were hand drawn. So it could have most likely that they just finished out that line. So it's not that Mahogany Ridge shouldn't have that parcel in there. The common area is included with the subdivision to the north of it. It does not continue into the Mahogany Ridge.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out. It's in there, yet it is. I mean, where did it disappear to? Other than those lines that were misdrawn, but you've got it even in this one that he's got showing up here.
Yeah.
That you've got one side and then the other side that is, I mean, this is different than the one I'm looking at, but there's just that area of ground that is not occupied by anybody. And if it's the case, then that means it does get added on to phase in this particular picture here. Does it get put onto the 36R and the 35R, or does it, I mean, it's a drainage, it's a utility easement. So is that at the, I'm looking at this.
So this one in particular, so this is the next one, not on the same one that we're talking about. This is a
Go
different
back
one.
to the other one. The other one, it's not.
That one's on the next parcel.
And it's on page 48, 9 of the packet. You've got two lines there, and this is just something I'm not understanding. If I was an owner of this land, one way or another, I know that's an excess parcel. And in this excess parcel that is no longer in existence, it has to be added into somebody else, or else somebody got the surveying done incorrectly, right? 'Cause you were a survey at one time. So how does that work? Just kind of give me an idea.
So the highlighted parcel that we're asking to have deleted, that is within the description of the Mahogany Ridge subdivision. So when we, yes, yes,
Since this line is not supposed to be here, this property here then is going to be accurate as far as the total amount of space? Or is
Cor-
it not?
correct, yes. It was
The
just,
person's still gonna have their space?
yes,
So Sally Jensen's line is right here,
correct,
property bridge is right to there.
correct. It was a
How can you
parcel,
do that, huh?
it's a parcel
It
number
was
that,
hand drawn.
that was
Yeah, but
created.
Descriptions are descriptions, and I'm just curious on those descriptions
But
if
they're-
they're
That's
accurate.
how they're catching them, is by the description.
But there's no description for that parcel that
Oh,
we
okay.
are trying to delete
Okay, but now there will be.
exist.
Now there will be a description, or is that correct or not?
The only description that's going to be there is from Mahogany Ridge.
For that,
It includes that
And
area.
it includes that parcel that we're trying to delete. Correct. Does that answer your,
it's not a matter of money on this case. It's a matter of, okay, I want it to be right.
and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're going around the whole county and we're trying to fix these errors and trying to, we are. And that's what Parcel Fabric is also doing. They're giving us the discrepancies. We're doing the research on it. We're fixing the lines to make it more accurate.
Okay.
I just think, Glenn, we have to trust
Well, I know. I'm just trying to make
our
sure
official,
because I've
trying to fix stuff.
I just want to make sure that the people that bought 25 acres or 25.36 acres actually have 25.36 acres.
Absolutely.
But if you've got one person on this side and one person on this side, it says, hey, my boundary according to this parcel fabric is overlapping into that. And all of a sudden, what are you selling? Or what are you buying?
Absolutely.
And I've got cases. Porterville's the worst.
No, and I understand. It's my job to make sure that this is accurate. And this is what we're doing, is making it accurate. Okay. All right, so the next parcel number is 00-0073-7667. This one, now you can go to that page that you had up, the 40, 49. Yes, that one. So this one is simple. So both of those, so if you see in the red, common area. The other one that's highlighted yellow should be common area. When this was created, again, it was most likely created on accident and it was closed off and created as its own parcel. It should have been included in with common area. So both of them should be common area. So I'm asking for the back taxes to be abated so we can delete that parcel and then we would just include it into the, yeah. Okay. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve resolution CR 25-26 abating back taxes on 3 erroneous parcels.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, you're up again.
Yep.
F2.
I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you. You're welcome. This is for a budget change for a grant, for the PLSS grant. So what I'm asking is, so I was not present for the prior budget. So from what I am trying to figure out is we have the PLSS grant that the state awards counties the grant money for the PLSS for each county.
Can you tell them what PLSS is?
For it's the section corners
Protecting
for the for the county.
preservation?
Yeah, the preservation section corners in the county. We hired Jeremiah Cunningham and Telus for the surveyor to do the work. The grant money that was awarded to us gets reimbursed. However, when the budget when the budget from last year was created, I don't believe that the money was moved correctly because we don't have enough money to pay the invoices for the 25-year grant. And then the money is needed for the 26 PLSS grant, the state contract. So this is the 42,345 would be to cover the rest of the 25-year grant money, and then the rest of that would be to pay for the 26.
Are you saying our match?
No. So Jeremy, can you move forward a page? So you'll see down here, the survey grant, this is your FY25 budget. His grant money's there. So that's the grant money that we have, 42,345. Jeremy, go one more page, please. So you'll see that when the budget was requested, all 42,345 was requested, but for whatever reason, only 10,000 was allocated.
Okay.
But he has at least $17,000 in invoices to pay out of his grant money. So he's just asking for his full grant money for that.
Basically, it's a total
It's just a-
reimbursement. So did we use all of it from the years prior because I know she was saying she would come in and she would ask for those to be adjusted. And now we're asking to have it put in the budget and then we get reimbursed for that. Is that correct?
Yes, we get reimbursed. So
But to answer the first part of your question, yes, she did spend it all.
Oh, okay.
But they're on just kind of like the other, like human services. They're on a July 1
Okay.
and we're on a calendar year.
Oh, okay. All right. So then, in other words, we can apply for this every year.
Yes, so every year. So applications due for 26 year on June 13th, and then we are awarded in fall of how much, we don't know how much we're going to get, but we'll get awarded with whatever amount in the fall.
Okay. So this is a question for Kate.
Yeah.
So Kate, if we then put this into the budget and then we get that revenue back in, then that means we're under the budget by that same amount. Is that correct?
You'd be totally lost.
Okay.
If we,
No, the budget adjustment is to adjust both the revenue side and the expenditure side to the same amount. So this page that you're looking at right now is the
Yeah.
expenditure side. The page previous is the revenue side. So we're showing the revenue of 42,345
Right.
and the budgeted expenditure of the same amount.
but I think to answer, I think what your question is, part of that 42,345 is part of what he's going to be asking for and expending in FY25 for the 25-26 grant. Does that
Okay,
answer your
that's-
question?
That was my
Okay.
question. Yeah. Thank you. Easy.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the budget adjustment for the Recorder's Office for fiscal year 2025, the amount of $42,345 as listed.
Second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Blocker. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Chair, just a quick request, since we did already start talking on 3A, request to hold on 3B and do 4 before we do 3B, since Janelle's in the audience and she might be able to answer any questions you might have when you get to your Board of Equalization question.
Okay, so are you saying we're gonna do
3A, skip
4,
3B.
and then go back to 3B?
Yes, please.
Okay,
John, where are you going? Yeah,
Yes, Medici.
we're just skipping polymorphic for a second.
Okay,
Long time no see.
good.
have a nice break there. Okay, it says Kate.
Okay, yes. So this is a request to expend some upfront costs out of the non-departmental other services, not, I forgot what the full title of that line item is.
Classified.
Not otherwise classified, thank you. So the request is for specifically for 3A would be that $5,000 come out of that fund, non-departmental fund, for the upfront cost of a land management tool for ownership maps and publicly recorded documents titled Medici Land Governance, and the approval of for that contract as well. The foregoing annual fee is to come out of the recorder's budget and will be budgeted for, but this is the upfront setup cost of $5,000.
And that includes the first year of 1,000.
No, that is out of his budget.
Okay.
Actually, I think it does include the first year, right? Because it
So-
says 1,000 begins year 2.
Yeah, so $5,000 is the onboarding fee, and then the $1,000 will start in 26.
6. Okay.
But that 1,000 you anticipate just paying from your regular budget.
Correct. I will
Next
budget for that, yes.
Is your mic on?
It will still be an additional $2 flat fee for up to 20 pages for flat fee. It says up to 20 pages purchase $2 a flat fee, or is that included within that?
No, so that $2 charge is going to be from the process fee of the public getting the document.
Okay.
For us, Medici will invoice us. It will be 20 cents per page for daily recordings.
So you'll just make a good faith estimate.
Yes. Yes. If this goes through, then I will then budget out of my budget, a rough estimate of how many documents a year. And then that's where I'll pay those invoices from Medici from that account.
So similar to planning, when they get their, like a building permit, or not a building permit, the fees that they get, and then we get billed by Wasatch Civil, and then we take that fee. It's just a pass through. So it's impossible for us to really budget
So
every
our-
year.
our
So
total
we'd have
cost-
to guess.
So basically, our total cost is $1,000, and then the rest of it's just all pass through, correct?
1,000 plus 20 cents per page.
Yeah.
So we still have that.
A rough estimate to get through the rest of the year, starting June, it would be about $1,400 to finish out the year for the daily recordings for 20 cents per page. For a total year, we're looking at $3,500
But it's
for
a
a full year.
pass through.
But it's the
So we don't have to have a budget adjustment or
We
anything?
will have to have a budget adjustment because we didn't anticipate for that line, but it's, again, it's a pass through, so it's not really, it'll offset from the revenues. Because it's not, that 20-cent fee is not on the county, it's on the end user that's purchasing that document, correct?
Thank you. Just understanding.
Okay.
Chair, can I
we're clear on
ask
that. Yeah.
a question? Do you know, are there any other companies that do this same type of service? Or is this on a state procurement contract?
no. So if another county's doing it, it's because it's been built in-house. Medici is the only one that I am aware of, and it is doing this exactly. This.
I was gonna say,
It's a single
now,
source.
Yeah, under our code, it says 36.03 B7, it says when a product or service which can only be procured from a single source. This is an exception to the bid requirement.
So we're fine.
So I was incorrect when I told you it was 6,000, it was 5,000. That's why he's verifying that it's sole source.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Questions?
I have none.
is this polymorphic the same thing, or is this
No, something
it's different?
completely different, yes.
Okay, so we'll approve both of those together, or do we need to do them separately?
Separately, please.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve the agreement with Medici Land Governance for a land management tool for ownership maps and publicly recorded documents.
Second.
okay, have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Chair, you will need to enter, make a motion or have someone make a motion to enter into the Board of Equalization for the next item.
I'll
Come
move
back
that
to the
we-
polymorphic thing.
I
We're
move-
going to 4 and then we're coming back
Yeah,
to
we'll
that
come
one.
back. Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn the public meeting and reconvene as a county board of equalization.
Second.
You have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are now a Board of Equalization.
So I just gave, we've been talking a lot with the clerk auditor, making sure that the assessor and the clerk auditor, that we're working together, but then we also have our checks and balances. So we've discussed that. We've actually had the state come in and kind of help us with that to make sure that we're doing the Board of Equalization correctly. So I have suggested to our clerk auditor, I think we had 4 different Board of Equalization hearing officers, and we submitted that information and then they chose one to be able to go forward. Brad Nets is who they chose. He's from Salt Lake County, so he is aware of our situation in Morgan, and I think he would be a good asset to be able to be used as a hearing officer. So that's kind of who we came up with, and then I guess it's your job to approve that.
So Commissioner Blocker, since you're new, just wanted to explain what this is. So you as a county commissioner, all the county commissioners are also the County Board of Equalization, which has to do with the equalization of tax assessments. There's in the statute, there's different ways that the county can have a Board of Equalization. One is that the county commission itself can be the Board of Equalization, or they can appoint someone as their hearing officer that is more well-versed in assessed values, such as Mr. Neff. And then once Mr. Neff comes with a recommendation, that will come before the commission as the Board of Equalization to make the final determination of whether or not to approve those recommendations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we go ahead with the vote? I move that we accept the resolution CR 25-01- BOE Board of Equalization appointing Brad Neff to act as our hearing officer for a period of, I think it's 3 years, right?
No, it's just
Just one.
Just one. Something else I read 3 years.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn the BOE Board of Equalization hearing and reconvene the public meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're now back into commission meeting.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Janelle. All right. If
Back to you, Kate, on 3B.
I think there's, I had a misunderstanding that, I don't know if this is sole source. I've not searched to see if this is sole sourced, and it is over the bid minimum, so I would ask for a table or a postponement or,
Mr. Chair, I move
until I
that we
verify that.
postpone item 3B until next commission meeting.
Second.
Second.
Let her have.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Newton, and a second by Commissioner Blocker. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I apologize about that. The
Problem.
next one is you.
Okay.
Jared.
So, in talking with Garrett the other day, we were talking about something that needed to be reposted, and the discussion came up of what that cost is, and it's about $400 each time we post something in the Standard Examiner. And it's not necessary. So I just wanted to have a discussion on that. If I just hate to spend $400 every time if it's not a necessary item to.
I would guess that the distribution of Standard Examiner newspapers in the county is not what it once was either. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's having its intended consequence either, of actually notifying our residents. So I would agree with you.
So, may I ask a question? Garrett? Attorney. In the state law, does it give us any sources that we can do public notices other than through the newspaper? Because it does say in there something about newspaper or print. I'm just trying to think, can we thwart that and not do it by that way or not?
So the Utah Public Notice website, the statute says that if there is a local media correspondent that receives that, so that would just be the verification we would have to do, is make sure some local media correspondent was getting the notices from the Utah Public Notice website, and then it's up to them whether they publish it or not. But it's not on the county to go out and publish it as well, at least under state code. Our county code is what requires it still, because it used to reflect the state code. State code's been updated, our county code hasn't. And to Commissioner Newton's point, the print media just isn't having the reach that it used to. We don't have one in Morgan County anymore. It's been on and off just because there's not the same demand. And so what the Open Meetings Act requires is publishing to the state the Utah Public Notice website. It encourages other types of advertising, which could be on our website, in newspaper, other things like that, but it's not required. And so I don't know, maybe if Jeremy is aware, since Josh isn't here, to how much goes into that for the budget annually, but I think it does add up over time, especially when, due to unforeseen circumstances or an applicant not being ready to go, or the county not having posted correctly, or whatever it is, that we sometimes will pay 2 or 3 times for the same item.
That's true, and we'll often find as we're re-noticing or noticing that the Standard has their software. You put in your text, and you can often take away things like spaces or enters like new paragraphs to take the cost down for somewhere to between $300 to $400 down to $100 to $200. But still, that's money that's being spent. If we have to renotice, we're not asking the applicant for those costs usually.
I would just like to see us do it more digitally, because digital is free.
And that's taken care of in 2 ways already, on the website and
Yeah.
on the public notice.
I mean, if we can legally get away with it and either update our code, I don't know if we have to update our code first, or just plain put this on the side and say, okay, for now, not do it.
We would have to update the code,
The land
because
use
our
chapter
code,
mention it.
yeah, our code does require it. The state code no longer requires it. And so that's why we continue to do it, is because our code requires it. And until we change our code, I think Josh will interpret it, and I would also interpret it that we have to do that to comply with our requirements.
So would Josh be the person to rewrite that?
Yeah, and so this would just be to direct staff under our land use code to come up with some language that would remove the requirement for posting in a newspaper.
Because it seems to me like this is not just, why is it a land use other than it's a portion of it? Because, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, Kate should be able to do that. I'm not giving you more work, but I
Well,
mean,
the
it just
land
seems to me
use-
like we need to it's only a portion of it. Why do we have to go to the land authority?
So we have multiple ordinances on the agenda tonight that are posted under state code that didn't have to post in a newspaper because we're not bound by that in our own code. It's only our land use code that requires it. Does that make sense? And so that's why we have to go through the land use, because it's a land use code that requires updating.
Should it be a land use code under our codes?
Yes, because we still have our own notice requirements for any land use decision. That's probably the items that we get most involvement from the community is on land use. And I think that notice is important for that, because when it impacts, you know, a neighbor parcel or something, they should have a right to be heard. And so the notice is good, but it's the, you know, diminishing returns. Are we spending this money that no one's even, that's not how they're getting their information about the issue. So it is specific to land use. That's where the requirements are. And that's what would prohibit the, or I guess kind of the discussion that I had with Chair Wilson is, can we just move it on to this agenda and rather than re-noticing it with the planning commission and going back through the process again? So that's the event that triggered this discussion in the first place, but it would be a land use code requiring an amendment.
Which is basically just taking something out of it.
That's right. It just would take away the requirement to print it in a new, because it's not required under the rest of our code outside of land use.
Based on the zoning administrator's interpretation, the noticing for administrative items differs slightly from legislative, but the legislative items is where we're noticing to the standard examiner. And that's where the costs go up tremendously.
So would we make that a policy for all, not just land use, but like for everything that we do, it's not have to have it? I mean, like, I know sometimes Leslie has to go and put stuff in there.
But
Yeah,
that's a very specific
change it.
state statute that she follows. It's not following our code.
Okay.
Well, unless Leslie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing in our code that governs. And so we don't have anything specific in our code. The only reason we need to amend the land use is because it's more specific than state and requires more than the state.
So for purposes of this discussion, we just need to give direction to staff
Correct.
to amend the.
As soon as possible.
And you've got that?
I think it has to be a vote.
Does it need to be voted on?
Yeah, I would just
Okay.
do it. There's
Okay.
a little ambiguity in the code, but it's
Okay,
good
I'll
to
look
just
for a
have a
motion
vote.
then.
So I move that we direct staff to work on the code, updating the need to advertise via print public notices for legislative specific items.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Are there
Aye.
any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
That will be a text amendment we'll bring to you happily. It's costs for our applicants. That'll be great.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Save that cost.
Okay, Jeremy, I think it's you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening to the members of the commission. Application 25.015 is action item F6 on your agenda, and it is the Davis Mountain Estate CUP. The applicant is in the owner, or the applicant / owner is in the audience tonight, Mr. Chair, Mr. Josh Hughes. The project location is approximately 7533 North Trappers Loop Road, identified by the parcel number and serial number in your meeting packet tonight. With the current zoning having been affected by a recent change, a rezone application approved by this body on April 1st of this year, it's application 25.003, the Davis Estate rezone, and saw a split to the zoning where the majority of the zoning on the property is agriculture A20, with two smaller portions being zoned RR5 on the property. But the request for tonight, Mr. Chair, is within the agriculture zoning to seek a conditional use permit that is required for a private recreational resort. The staff has conducted a review and has put together both the guidance from the attorney in the meeting packet, as well as some conditions that you can amend how you wish for the mitigation of detrimental effects that we can reasonably anticipate. And the Planning Commission was scheduled to hear this item on May 22nd, and proper noticing was employed for that meeting, but the meeting was canceled due to the lack of a quorum. As such, no action having been taken by that body, and in discussions with staff, we looked to move the project forward to this body, even regardless of regarding the C2 designation from code, saying that the Planning Commission has authority to approve this. It's brought to this body tonight for your review. Otherwise, I do want to point out in particular from the suggested conditions that staff is highly interested in seeing conditional access approval from UDOT, and the applicant can speak to their journey with that. Has it been almost a year you've been seeking that, 9 months or so? It's been a long journey for you. Like that, and I'll let the applicant speak to that.
That's a normal time period for them.
I know, and so he's seeking that approval, and that would be a suggestion from staff to implement that condition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I apologize. I meant to talk about this a little bit before we got to this agenda item. This is what Garrett and I prompted our conversation about the whole thing. But since they didn't have a quorum, we decided where this is, we would only bring these things forward in such an occasion where there's not a quorum, where it can be, that we're able to see this and not slow down the process because of that. So only in those cases would this happen.
And it is based on the state code that says if there's an untimely recommendation, then it's treated as a denial. And so for this item and the next item, you just treat it as a denial from the Planning Commission, understanding that it's just treated that way because they didn't have a quorum and didn't hold a meeting.
So, but if we go and deny it, doesn't that put it on later? I mean, it extends it for a long period of time. Isn't that correct? Or is that only on zoning?
That's just for
the recommendation is not that we deny it. It's just that we don't have a recommendation from the Planning Commission, a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Right.
So we're not taking that into consideration.
Are we? And I understand the reason for the speeding up of it, but I just worry about, are we thwarting our own processes?
I would say in this case, no, because it's a C2. So this issue wouldn't even come before the county commission as a C2 application. So a C1 goes to Josh, C2 to planning, C3 comes all the way to the commission. And so it was it's going to be this body or the planning commission that makes any findings with regard to the CUP. And so it's not extending the process because we're not having to renotice it, pay more fees and get it back out. It's not thwarting the process or shortening it because it's actually getting more scrutiny than it would otherwise under our code.
That
So
said, a
then-
review has been conducted and the conditions have been just outlined as a template for you for tonight's meeting.
So basically, we can approve this to go ahead with the CUP. I mean, yeah.
Correct.
Because one
And
thing I
then-
failed to mention is you do have a recommendation from staff. It just didn't get a recommendation from the planning commission. So
Okay.
I should specify that's a positive recommendation, Mr. Chair.
So I thought there was a requested denial.
No, it was a positive recommendation from the staff.
Did I find that at before? Okay, I'm fine with it, period. But we have to have a public hearing on it first.
There's no
on this
public
one?
hearing. This
No,
would have
this
only
is
gone to the
Oh, that's
planning.
right. Okay. The other
This one
one's-
is
the next one
administrative.
public.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would say I move that we approve unless you guys have more questions.
I have none, other than if you want to speak to DOT. Thank you.
You've grown up a little bit, Josh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I graduated the same year as Mike. So
Yeah, no.
about 100 pounds lighter. So I don't know if I'm very recognizable or not.
Only thing different between you and Mike is Mike's got a beard.
Probably more hair. Maybe just before answering that question, just a small deviation, if you don't mind. I just wanted to say how impressed I was that I guess staff and I don't know if it sounds like maybe a decision with the chairman, but to proactively speed something up really surprised me. And all my dealings with, I guess, just cities and counties and government agencies, I've never ever seen a proactive effort to speed things up.
It was our attorney.
Well,
He's a
thank you
good
very
man.
much, Mr. Smith.
At the request of Josh. So I can't take credit. I'll give Josh the accolades.
Yeah, highly unusual and much appreciated. And then just maybe one other thing on that. I have worked through a number of other government bodies on conditional use permits, and they seem to be so confused as to what a conditional use permit is and what can be done with them and what type of conditions can be imposed. And I've never seen anyone like Morgan that seems to understand it and document it as well as the attorney has in the packet, as well as staff has explained it to me in our dealings. And so anyway, a really well-trained, well-educated staff for a community that's not, as large as many that don't seem to understand it. And so anyway, just really impressed with those two things.
Thank you.
Yeah. With UDOT, we have been talking to them for over a year, but most of it's been about other, different aspects, I guess, of the property. We tried to see if we could change some things with our approach, tried to see about some signage, in the UDOT right of way since we sit so far back. And that's the stuff that's kind of been protracted. It hasn't been delayed necessarily specific to access for this. The only thing that I guess I would say is the condition number 1, as far as recommended conditions, kind of at the end of that sentence, it says for new access. And UDOT has made it clear that they wouldn't offer a new access. It would be modifying this one. And so maybe I would just request that the word new access be, changed to updated access or updated, use for the existing access or something to that effect, because I don't think they're going to grant us a new access off of the road, if that makes sense. We do, after our last conversation with UDOT, we did conduct a traffic study that was done by Hales Engineering, and that will be submitted with our with our application to UDOT. We haven't made the official application for the use, I guess, until we got the use approved, because it kind of felt like a chicken or the egg thing, and I didn't know if they'd want to approve it, saying, wait, this is for what? And has Morgan approved that? Well, Morgan hasn't approved it. And so anyway, that application will go in with this traffic report from Hales Engineering, which does kind of specify, up to this amount of, cars, it's not a problem. You go to this number of cars, you need a right-hand deceleration lane, and then kind of so on. We're choosing to size this in a way where, we wouldn't have to make significant changes to Trappers Loop. As you can imagine, that would be quite, expensive if we were to try and build it large enough that we'd need a left-hand turn lane or something like that. I don't know that was a real direct answer,
No,
but did that kind of answer what you were wondering with UDOT?
Just I can see where you would like your CUP, so you can go to them with
Something more concrete.
Yeah.
And you're one of the few that has gone and complimented it, because most people say it takes too long.
Well, of course, you'd always want it faster, but I've never seen it proactively be sped up. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a conditional use permit for the Delos Mountain Estate CUP parcel number 00-68-1129 with the findings and conditions listed in the staff report with one adjustment to condition number 1, that the word new be stricken, just reads access and not new access.
I have a question for you before you do that. You've got the serial number and a parcel number. So is it just the parcel number then, or do we need a serial number too?
Well, we can list that if you want in the motion.
I'm
but
just
I think-
wondering if we need
I
it.
think it's identified. I'll add the serial number.
Okay.
03-005-011-01-8.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Josh. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Action item F7 is in regards to the code enforcement code text amendment. Part of this discussion is because of the new addition to the planning office with Chris Tremea, our code compliance officer, and Janet Christofferson having done a monumental effort to help put together this overhaul of the code enforcement section, with it being described in your meeting packet starting on page 3 of the staff report. Before I get into that description, this code text amendment is a request to amend section 155.999 of the Morgan County Code to modernize and expand the county's code enforcement provisions. It aims to eliminate outdated language, to give options for civil and criminal remedies based on the severity of the offense, and to align appeal procedures with state law. And also the amendment removes the broad third-party lawsuit provisions, aims to strengthen permit and lien authority and clarify the civil fine processes. And so with the description from your meeting packet, it goes through the changes with additions and strike-throughs, and most notably taking section 155.999, deleting it and adding a highly reorganized version of that section. Janet Christofferson is in the audience tonight, Mr. Chair, and can go into more depth about the amendment itself. But this amendment is brought before this body for your approval. Similarly, having been scheduled for, and it says in the meeting packet for June 3, that's not correct. It was scheduled for May 22 Planning Commission night, but was canceled and moved forward with a procedural recommendation of denial to this body tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I think we ought to have a discussion, but I think this is large enough. I would like a recommendation from an official recommendation from the Planning Commission. So I would like to see this sent back to them for their review before we approve anything, or deny for that matter. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it's some pretty major changes. And I think I would like their eyes on it too, to make sure that we're looking at this correctly. Now, that's just my opinion, and I still think we ought to have some discussion about it here and maybe get some answers on some of the questions that we might have now. But I just wanted to throw that out there as a possibility.
Do we need to go into public hearing first?
Yes, we probably should. Well, we could do the public hearing after we ask questions too.
Well, and wouldn't that depend on whether we're just gonna send it back to them or not?
Should we have to have? a
Well, it's
public
been
hearing
noticed
after?
as a public hearing. I would still do the public hearing.
Okay.
Even if it ends up getting sent back and it comes back again.
Would we have a second public hearing at that point after it's been?
Yeah, you would, because then you'd have a recommendation from the planning commission. But I agree with Commissioner Newton, because it was noticed that way. If anyone came to speak to it, we ought to let them speak tonight.
Okay, I'll look for a motion for a public hearing.
I move that we go into public hearing.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we'll look for anyone. We're now in public hearing. Anyone that would like to speak to this agenda item, please come forward. Okay, seeing none.
I move that we go out of public hearing.
Second the motion.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now back in commission meeting. I personally then, if we want to, if we're all in agreement in that, then I think we ought to just send it back and wait for our,
For their recommendation. at
yeah,
that point.
wait for their recommendation to make our all our questions, and in case they change something too, I guess.
I do appreciate the way it's laid out. I like the column version. I don't, was that you? I like that. That helped a lot as I reviewed it. I'll just make a couple of comments from my review that you can take or leave before we vote to send it back, if that's okay.
Sure.
I understand the reasoning behind suggesting that all appeals go through the appeal authority. But I do have a little bit of heartburn, just worried about some of those appeals maybe should come before the commission and not just the appeal authority. And I don't know, I haven't fully wrapped my head around how that will work, and so maybe that's part of my concern. But I think that's something we could maybe discuss some more, and I can learn a little bit more about. The other concern I have is, while I'm very much in favor of working to ensure that we're consistent across the county and that we're enforcing things consistently, I also want to be careful that we're not being too heavy-handed. And really, I don't think most of this I don't feel like is heavy-handed. I do like that there's more remedy options available than what we currently have, and I think it's better to be spelled out. The one thing that was a little concerning to me was the penalty of up to $1,000 a day. That's pretty harsh in any scenario, I think. And maybe there's good logic behind that. I know that it mentioned that a lot of other municipalities have a similar fine. But I think at the end of the day, and I think our staff has been really good about trying to work very well with landowners on issues and not be heavy-handed. And I want to make sure that when we go through this, that's ultimately what we end up with, is something that's good and clear, but also, grants some good, I guess, leeway for staff to work with residents on. So those were my only comments. That's not to say that I have a big problem with anything in here. Those were my things that I guess came to the top.
We think alike on
Okay.
on that item.
Did you
So-
see anything in there, Garrett, that
I think the main thing that I liked about laying it out and providing more definition is it removes the ambiguity that Janet or I have to argue when it gets appealed to district court. And so just having a streamlined approach was the idea with the appeal authority, to have it where, oh, for these types of appeals, it goes to the commission, or these types of appeals, it goes to the appeal authority. I do think having one road makes it easier for whoever's appealing as well. And then it eliminates the necessity of the county to defend a position under alternative attacks, if that makes sense. But I think, to Commissioner Newton's point, maybe there are certain things that can be clearly defined in the code as well, so that it's not ambiguous for either side. And so I guess my request would be, maybe as you think about it more, what are some of those things that you would want to come to the commission and not to the appeal authority, just so that language can be drafted and we make it what works for everyone. And So that's really the only thing that I had is I think with our current penalty section, there's enough ambiguity that it does make it hard to defend.
I think my only concern with an appeal authority, I guess in general, is it's their interpretation also of it. Whereas if certain things, if they were to come before a body of 5, it's not just one individual interpreting it, then, you know, I'm not saying that an appeal authority would be unreasonable, but reason tends to be more common when you have a few more people involved. And so that's my one, I guess, thought on that. But again, I think it's something we can discuss, and I'm really interested to hear what the planning commission has to say about it, and you know, having some more thought on how that might work.
I think it is
Could we
easier-
make it-
oh. Sorry, go ahead.
Could we make
Commissioner
it,
Block.
say they want to appeal again after the appeal authority, they could appeal to the county commission?
So, we can look into that a little bit more, but under the state code, it's 801 and 802 of the county land use code. There's certain timeframes that are imposed, and so it's from the land use authority. And so I think that it would be good to have one or the other rather than, okay, it's the land use authority on these cases is the appeal authority. And then on these cases, you go to the appeal authority and the county commission. I think it's putting in extra steps that are more costly for an applicant. And it's also more for the county to have to defend at each stage. The nice thing about an appeal authority, or at least the one that we have right now, is he literally wrote the book on land use in Utah. Craig Call, he's really good. And I think he's been on, I guess, both sides, you could say, because he was the ombudsman, the first ombudsman for Utah. He's not going to be here forever, though. The other worry that I would have is commission as a body changes over time, and sometimes it's hard to get 5 to come to an agreement, or, you know, there's pros and cons to both. And maybe the idea would be, are there certain things where it's more appropriate for the commission to be the land use authority under state code to be appealed from? And that's more what I would be looking for, is what circumstances does that make the most sense? And then we can weigh the pros and cons to having a different appeal authority versus the county commission.
So Garrett, are you saying there'll be different categories where some will appeal to the county commission and some will appeal to the appeal authority? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what Commissioner Newton was saying. My recommendation, though, is it would be more rare to come to the county commission, and in those situations, it should be clearly defined what would come to the county commission.
Can you have a really clear, when you want to, I mean, you don't agree with maybe the planning authority, you want to come to us 5, I think there's got to be a way for them to come to us instead of having to go that direction.
Well,
At least my opinion.
it would come, yeah, and maybe Janet could speak to it as well.
Okay.
She did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Certain on the land use decisions in the state code, those go to an appeal authority and not the county commission. The things that we see, like in our prior code that I changed, are subdivision applications and review by the planning commission, and the same with small subdivision reviews by the planning commission. Those were the things that were appealed to the county commission. And so I see in those instances, it makes sense. But I think on the land use decisions, those type of things go pretty positive.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive the state statute says it's like an administrative law judge or an appeals authority. But
So
not
what we're
right.
really talking about are, when we say land use, I mean, we're not talking about rezones. Those are legislative in nature.
Correct.
So that automatically comes to us. But we're talking about land use code items that maybe somebody disagrees with, right? The interpretation generally is what it is. They disagree with the interpretation of the land use authority, which would be Josh.
Correct.
And so they
Or the
want
planning
to appeal
commission.
or the planning commission,
Commission.
and they want to appeal that decision, that interpretation to someone else, they're talking about potentially appealing that to either a land use authority, appeal authority, or to the county commission. So maybe we can think a little bit about the types of decisions that might be, you know, or types of issues that would come up, and if there is a need for that to come to the commission and under what circumstances. I don't know.
Yeah, because so 801 and 802 of 1727A in the state code, it's for the land use decisions, which are going to be the administrative items. If there was a challenge to a rezone, that goes through referendum. So there's different state codes
Like
that
a CUP
apply.
would not be one because that comes through.
It could be.
Well, but a CUP would be appealed to the C3, right? That's what we have it set up now. If it's
Well, I
say a
think that's how
C2,
it's.
they-
I think that's how it's set up now. But the idea behind this would
is
be
maybe it would go.
it would just go to the appeal authority, and then it gives them a quicker way to get a remedy through the court. Because at the end of the day, if the county, makes a determination, then or a determination against them, the quicker they get that to court to challenge it with a judge, the better for them and for the county to just have it go right there. I think the other thing too is working with one schedule for appeals versus 5 to pull everyone together. Our meetings are long already, and when would that? I think that would be the other logistical concern that I would foresee as our building permit applications, land use applications continue to increase with a part-time commission.
So can we have an appeal authority being the planning commission? Can that be or are they the ones that are making the decision and then that it is appealed from that?
It's
See,
appealed
that's
from
the
that.
question I have is, okay, is Josh making a decision, or I mean, the planning director is making a decision, and then you've got the planning commission that's making a decision, but somebody wants to appeal what the planning director has said, shouldn't they be able to go to another source and appeal it to somebody else, even with him rejecting it?
Yeah, and that's what the appeal authority is.
But if it's the authority by the planning director, that's not really an appeal.
Well, no, it's a separate person. So Craig Call would be the appeal authority. So he's independent of the county. He's hired by the county and will be paid, but he doesn't work for the county. He contracts with the county, but he has to reveal any decisions made by the land use authority, whether it's Josh up to the county commission.
I would just like to see, like Raylene has, can there be more than just one appeal authority? Because it basically takes us being what the people wanted to determine how we want to have this county be. Takes that authority away from us.
We also have to be following state law and our code, and I think the hearings officer is bound by that. The other thing right now is we honestly don't have an appeal authority because our code says it's an administrative law judge that you guys have appointed. I'm not aware of any.
So Craig Hall wouldn't even be.
Our code is so chopped up and impossible to follow and ambiguous that, part of it was when I went through to try and do some enforcement actions, either civilly or criminally. You can't even follow it. So I don't even know how private citizens looking at it can even get a fair shake trying to make sure that.
Can we simplify it?
Well, that's the intent here, and I
Yeah,
think
because
that-
it is big.
I think this is helpful. It is a lot more clear to me.
Yeah, I think actually the 155,999, the new one is shorter. Might be longer, and I have lists with bulleting, but the process is like a 3-step process.
Yeah.
So,
It's definitely
but
clear.
yeah, I think it'll help immensely in as far as some of our civil litigation. Yeah, I think that we sometimes end up in district court, Garrett's had to file motions to dismiss because they hadn't exhausted their administrative remedies. And we come across those issues quite a bit. And I think some of our court time might be eliminated by this new process. So with that said, what I'm encouraging you to do is really look at it. And if you have any suggestions or criticisms, let me know. So we can get on this.
So the last item that I had noted of concern was under the emergency abatement section. Only because reading that, like, basically sounds like the county can go on your property and take care of stuff for any reason. It just sounds very, very open. I don't
Eminent
know if there's a
domain.
good way to clear that up and make it a little more, or a little less
Scary.
scary.
It doesn't have,
but-
I thought it was conditioned upon like, it has to be like health, safety, like something immediate.
Yeah,
It
it's
does.
the substantial danger to the health, safety, or welfare of the public or occupants.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I understand what it's saying. It still seems very.
I think we can talk about that more as well, because those are some similar concerns with the weed abatement, with some of those provisions about Fourth Amendment. You
Yeah,
know,
the
we just want to
property
make
rights
sure that we've got,
concerns me a little.
yeah.
Okay.
And we may, yeah, I hadn't looked at that one specifically, but I think it's a good discussion because there are exceptions to the warrant requirement as well, right? To the Fourth Amendment. So I think if we just spell that out and make sure it's in line with whatever code or case law, we can verify that too.
We postpone it. We postpone this to planning commission.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And can we
Any-
make that specific to the June 12th meeting? Is that your next
I was
meeting?
gonna say we're gonna find a date, but June 12th.
Yeah,
we can
I
do.
would put it on the next one.
I would just put it there so that we have the notice at this meeting that it's going to a date certain.
Wait a second, we've noticed for
So
June
that
12th.
would be June 17th.
You've already noticed for that?
Oh, the
think we're
June
past
12th.
Oh,
I can look at the deadline for noticing for it.
Yeah, if
It
you
may
can get
need
it
to be-
in, just get it into the next one you can.
And we
Okay.
will, we hopefully will hear it on the 17th. Is that correct? Is that, or it doesn't matter?
no, it'll have to,
It'll have-
well,
Yeah,
if they get it in, but it may,
We'll look at the requirements.
Well, that's right. It wouldn't
Planning.
be the next. Sorry.
Okay.
Pride.
It's been 2.5 hours, so we're gonna have a short
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
We never have, no, we never, in the men's restroom, it's always
Empty?
empty.
Yeah. Yes, it has been quite often.
Always. Like every week.
See if I had to use toilet paper. to-
Yeah. It's okay though, we sit there and shake our hands together.
Rub on your pants.
Okay, everybody back in session? Okay, we'll start again.
Mr. Chair, action item F8 is the snow storage code text amendment. This is a request to amend the Morgan County Code to establish requirements for snow storage where there are previously none, and essentially what it comes down to is when we process our site plan applications, we don't require anything for snow storage because it's just not spelled out in our code. And so this proposed amendment aims to improve snow management across the county by clarifying snow storage requirements for different zoning areas, particularly those in commercial, setting winter season parking regulations and implementing penalties for violations. These changes are intended to ensure safe and efficient snow removal, reduce obstructions, and maintain access for emergency services during the winter months. So for the three members of the commission that were here or present tonight, this is a directive from the county commission on February 6th. It was within the discussion for the range final plat, where there's just nothing we could require as a county to impose restrictions for snow storage. And so a code text amendment has been put together by the planning department and is contained within your meeting packet tonight. Rather than go through all of the text, I do just want to highlight that there is red colored text in the body of the proposed text before the language of the ordinance a couple pages later. So I'm starting on page, I think the numbering is messed up on the staff report. So the proposed text, and it starts with 155.355 snow storage. Starting from there, you'll see some things highlighted in red text and would like to engender discussion regarding those numbers, whether you think those should be adjusted. The Planning Commission has heard this item on their regularly scheduled meeting on May 8th. A public hearing was held, but no comments were made during that portion of the meeting. And there were some questions from the Planning Commission, clarifying questions about the rationale behind the minimum storage requirements for residential, commercial, and industrial zones. That's some of the red text that I was just talking about. And the figures were selected with the understanding that they could be codified now to give us at least a starting point for a standard to start implementing with the planning department, and at present, and adjusted in the future if needed, thereby minimizing the risk of legal challenges related to regulatory takings, with the numbers being perhaps too high. So we started at a rather low point with this one from the advice of the county engineer and the county attorney. Otherwise, the commission just had some clarifying questions and moved on to their vote for a recommendation of approval to this body. That vote being 4-0. Chair Maloney did not vote, and Member Watt was absent from the meeting on that night. Otherwise, it was actually pointed out to me today, there's some minor formatting issues in the numbering of the text. I think just some things got moved in the letters of how the ordinance is organized, but otherwise the text is good, and we've already identified that issue and drafted an ordinance. Otherwise, happy to answer any questions you may have tonight, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
So I guess a question I have is 10 feet by 10 feet doesn't seem huge to me.
That's just the minimum, though.
Sure, but they're always trying to smash as many as they can in there, so they're going to go to the minimum guaranteed every time, you know?
Well, it says that the minimum is equal to 30% of all uncovered parking spaces under residential zones, 25% in industrial zones, and 25% in commercial zones.
So why would it be 10 by 10 then?
That's if your parking area was less than.
Okay, so it's either or then, is what it's saying.
No, if you're
10 by 10 if it's a really small.
if it's tiny, if it's so small that 30% is less
Okay,
than
all right. Okay, I'm okay with that.
less than 100 square feet, but I think the chance of that's probably pretty minimal. I actually think that 30% or 25% is a bit high. If you had a very
Of
large
uncovered
parking
area.
yeah, if you had a very large parking lot, 30% of the square footage of your parking lot's a lot of space that you would need in addition to your parking lot for snow storage. I just did a quick search. In Wasatch County, the percentage is 15%, and in Summit County, it's 10%.
So why did we go with I mean, I'm just trying to hypothetically think this through. 30%, 25%, 25%. What made that determination?
Josh and I fussed about this, and when I did the search, I think I found some Utah counties were up to 30%. So our range was somewhere between 10 and 30. Now, other counties outside of Utah, some of them are going up to 75%.
Wow.
They're 50 to 75%. So we thought, okay, we'll start here and we can always adjust down later. And my thought was maybe people have been really conservative and these are older. And honestly, there aren't a lot of these ordinances in Utah, and the ones that do have any levels they're pretty slim. We did in this ordinance, I added in offsite storage. So if you don't have enough to cover, you can contract and do offsite storage as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we fussed back and forth on these. And we thought, well, we'll start with these. And then if it goes through and we're like, yeah, this is too much. But I don't know. I was thinking forward, thinking this might be a good start because I know it's harder to go up
Then down.
to go down.
So can you explain 2H? Within detention basins, where possible, this is the preferred location of shall qualify for a 50% reduction in total required storage areas. So you're basically telling me that instead of the 25% or the 30%, it would be reduced by 50% if they had a catch basin?
If they use the catch basin is how I understood it. If
Yeah.
they use it.
If the catch basin is their storage area.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that meant, so I just want to make sure. And then, and of course, I had the thing on this 10 feet by 10 feet. I think that's a little small. I don't care what size of parking lot or whatever it is.
That'd be a really small storage.
Yeah, that's smaller than this table. That table is probably 10 feet. One direction. So,
I don't think that'll ever come into play. I think it'll always be the percentage of the parking space.
so this is a complete new code that we have not had.
Yes, and in reviewing and looking for other snow storage, this is probably the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And
say,
certainly like, there's no other county in Utah that has anything like this one. Yeah, Josh did.
Is it the
an incredible
greatest
job.
snow policy ever written?
It's not quite as good,
I think it's great.
but he knows what he's
My
doing.
only question is about this size. That's it. Everything else looks awesome to me.
I wish I could see what that looked like on one of our, these that we just have passed, you know, I wish I could.
Well, I was just thinking, okay, if you had a 10,000 square foot parking area, right, which is not all that big, 10,000 square feet. I mean, you're probably talking, I don't know, 20, 30 cars, that much
But they
space.
don't even have parking space, do they?
What's
They
that?
only have, are we talking about the drive aisleways and everything? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, in those cases, it's gonna be the roadways too, because they're private roadways. It'd be the roadways and parking,
Oh, I see
off-street
what you're
parking
talking- you're
space.
talking
But
about
I'm just saying,
commercial building.
if you had a commercial building with 10,000 square feet of parking space, right, which isn't a huge lot, you would need 3,000 square feet of snow storage space. That doesn't include your parking spaces, because your parking spaces, according to this, they're
20 feet off.
yeah. So that's why I say I feel like 30% or 25% is a little high. Although
Residential zones is 30, industrial zones is 25, and commercial zones is 20. So I wonder what that looks like for Lee's.
yeah, for Lee's, I mean 25% covered parking. I don't know how big their lot is. Maybe we can figure that out pretty fast.
It's good on the.
Thank you, though.
computer.
I love this.
Oh, well, you got to think Josh.
It's my
He
it's my question all the
Get
time.
it.
I'm like, there's no place to put snow.
Well, and I
Like,
think
we'll
what-
take care of it.
I think with the new development and the Olympics coming and all the vehicles, I don't know. And I know that's a few years off. But
Well, I know like
Need to plan.
like Lee's and stuff. They'll pile it up around their light posts. You know, that's where they end up pushing it because they have so much open space. And that's my only concern about that much area because that would take away a lot of parking.
Oh,
yeah, we went back and forth on it.
what is there?
Sorry, I'm trying to get the square footage really quick of the. Okay, so the Lee's parking lot, their big main parking lot is 78,000 square feet, roughly. So if you had 78,000 square feet of parking, you needed 25% of it to be. Yeah, you'd need about 20,000 square feet just for snow storage. That's a lot.
It's 200
It's a lot.
by 100.
Yeah, it's a really big area. I don't think you need that much. Is what
So what should we do? 10?
maybe it's 15 for now, and we see how it goes.
Okay.
And if people come in and are saying, "Look, we can't accommodate 15%," talk about it. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think
Okay. You're right.
Is
It
there
is easier to
als-
come down than come up.
Is there also, and I'm trying to describe it. I'm just thinking law of diminishing returns. Like when you have such a big parking lot, does that change it, right? Like what if you
Yeah.
have a small parking lot and it's like, well, 30%, we need all of that to make it work. And so I wonder, Janet,
Well,
do you have any ideas on like it?
thought is maybe that minimum that's 10 by 10, maybe that goes up to a little
That's
larger
probably
area,
a
right? And
great
maybe that's how
idea.
we deal with the small stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We say a minimum of, I don't know,
20 by 24.
20 by 20 or something, right? And then we keep it at
Or an equal
15%
amount
or
up to
something.
400 square feet. It could be 10 by 40.
Yeah, 400 square feet or something like that. Maybe that's the, because you're
Yeah.
right. You're trying to apply one standard across large and small, and sometimes that makes sense and sometimes it doesn't.
So basically a 15% across the board.
Raylene, do you have any thoughts?
I agree with what's being said. I think it should be smaller as well. I think 15% is a good number.
I'm good with 15.
Yeah, let's
Start with 15
Start
and
with
400.
400 square feet.
400 400 square feet for that last one where the minimum size is?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That's a pretty good sized area,
That's
as high as they
big.
stack it.
That's a big.
And if it gives them incentive to put in a basin, you know, and they use it, they'll use it. That's a great idea. So
Preserves water too.
Well, I think to be clear, one of the reasons that we need a snow ordinance or snow storage ordinance is also because we don't have stormwater drainage throughout the county.
Yeah.
So, you know, catch basins are super important for that. If we could have more of those or better stormwater system, maybe the snow storage wouldn't be quite as crucial. Mr. Chair, I'll move that we adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing.
Second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in public hearing. Anyone would like to come forward?
Move we go out of public hearing.
Second it.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Blocker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the snow storage code text amendment with the modifications discussed in today's meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Blocker. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Josh, for that. Okay, Kate.
I believe Commissioner Newton wants to make a motion.
So I would really love to have all 5 of us present for these 2 tax increases or potential tax increases.
Okay.
I'm totally fine discussing it, but I would make a motion to postpone it till our next meeting. There is a
Public hearing.
time constraint on number 9. If we do implement it, we need to implement it before the end of the month, in June.
So it needs to be
So it would
next
have to be
meeting.
on next meeting, but
It would actually have to be for both of them if we want them to start right away.
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Well, that-
Um,
I've had discussion with Vaughn Nickerson on both of them, or right up to Senator Curtis. And I'm not going to speak for him, but then everything we were discussing, he had said he wants this also. So, just I don't know what Raylene has to say about it, but we've had one comment from a consumer or a constituent, whatever you want to call it. I personally, and I know Tina Kelly also mentioned she doesn't want to raise it, but yes, WPR does bring in a lot and all the other building that goes in, but I still hate property taxes. And sales taxes are directed towards specific things. And where each one of our areas are starting to have specific needs, such as fire department and police patrol and vehicles and all the equipment that goes with it, I don't really think that we ought to be taking it completely out of our coffers, our fund balance, of our general property tax. I mean, eventually I'd like to see our property taxes go down. But then again, when you have it go down, it goes down for everybody too. And so that's my opinion, and I'd love to see it happen because, I mean, the TRT is one that actually does help promote the county. It helps promote the county. It helps us to keep afloat. The amount we don't pay, we will not be paying that tax unless we go to Washington County where it's going to be a lot higher than here. And if if we're discussing both of them on the sales taxes, that 0.3% will bring us in $700,000 to $900,000 a year. We as public are not the only ones paying it. We, meaning people that come into our valley and they stop here and spend the money, they're the ones that are going to pay it. And it's a choice tax versus a mandatory tax. And that's my reasoning for a sales tax increase. It's for that reason, and to pay for these extra things that we haven't had to do in the past, that all of a sudden we're being forced to do. And I don't think we ought to put the burden upon the public, our people that live here in this county. So,
Well, it's at least a forced tax for the essentials people use. That
no, it won't increase. The 3% for the food tax stays at 3%. It does not increase. So food
Yeah, it doesn't
taxes
affect
stay the
food.
same.
Yeah, it won't affect food, but
It won't.
but there are other essentials
Yeah.
that are not food. that
Right.
It does affect.
Like toilet paper, it would. Okay, but food items, it will not. So it will not attach if you go buy potatoes or whatever, or carrots or whatever down there at the store. It will not affect those. It will only affect like paper goods, those kinds of things. Or if we buy a car, it will affect that. We're still lower than anybody else. There's a few counties that are lower, but I can almost promise you they're going to be increasing it too. And then we will still be one of the lowest. And that's from all the data that I've received.
I prefer sales tax over property tax for sure. I agree with you on that one. I think one thing that we do need to be clear about and note, when people bring up, well, WPR was going to bring in more revenue. To be clear, property taxes are budget based. So the only way that the revenue increases is if we adjust the budget, which is a tax increase. And residents will receive a notice saying you're receiving a tax increase if you do that.
That's right.
Now, it could be that their values go up enough that everybody still ends up paying less, but it is an increase in taxes when we do that. And I think that there's a lot of confusion amongst residents about that because they just assume when you raise the budget, yeah, it's a tax increase.
I mean,
I
we
think
raised
residents
it tonight.
assume, well, WPR is paying taxes, so now we have all this extra money. That's not how it works. It's reducing everybody else's tax liability. But unless we adjust the budget, it doesn't bring any more money into the county. Other than some one-time rollback taxes and a few things like that.
But then those are, now we don't have those either. I mean, we do, but they're for specific
But
reasons.
they're earmarked, yeah.
Yeah, they're earmarked. So these are just earmarked taxes. It's not a general sales tax. They're earmarked for specific things, and that's why I like them. I mean, we've got here under the Section 3 use of revenue. I mean, there's certain things that they can all be used for, and it can't be used for extra things. And they're not. This one with the TRT, that's a state one that we basically need to approve that if we want to get the money from them, the additional monies. And so that one I would suggest we approve. The other one, I would like to see it approved because I don't want to have to see us pay for more and more fire stations or more public safety buildings, or we need another ambulance or something like that. We need these things. These are things that we need. Why not let everybody that comes here to visit us help pay for it
Certainly our visitors use those services
more than we do?
in often cases more than we do. Even.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with you on that at all. I just think
The roads, we can even use it for road repair if we need to, because we are a fourth class
Yeah.
county.
I would like to see at least TRT not postponed. I mean, this is a no-brainer for our county, unless you won't be affected by this unless you're staying in one of our hotels or Verbos. So I'd like to see this one move forward tonight and not to the next meeting.
I will say I pay it when I stay at one of the campgrounds in the county.
Yeah,
So,
you do.
and that's okay. I'm not opposed to that one. I think room tax you pay no matter where you're at. People are paying this in other counties. It's not going to deter people from staying in our county. They're going to choose to stay here or someplace else. But it's not going to be based on the tax. So I don't disagree with that sentiment.
And this will be nice to have moving forward with the Olympics as maybe other hotels come in.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't see us having to raise it again because there's a big fight at the state legislature and between us and higher class counties too. I move, we have to go in public hearing, yep.
Yes, we do.
I move that we go in public hearing for item number 9. CO.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Fackrell, a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
now in public hearing. Do you have anyone that would like to come and speak?
I'll move that we adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the public meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Back in session.
I move that we pass county ordinance CO-25-12 to increase the transient room tax to 4.5%.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Blocker. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
You opposed or you for?
She's on a delay.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
I know it's annoying. I keep hearing myself after the fact.
Good.
What would the commission like to do with the additional sales tax for the purpose of public safety?
I would like to continue the discussion, or
Okay, I'll
me
let-
personally, I want to go and make a motion, but you know,
I'd like to have a public hearing since it's already
Yeah.
posted.
yeah. I move that we go into public hearing for the county ordinance CO 25-13. Additional sales tax for the use sales and use tax for the funding of public safety.
Second the motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're now in public hearing. Anyone would like to come forward and speak to this matter?
You guys can if you want. And no, that's for this item if you want to come up. But you're not on yet.
I'll move to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the public.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry,
Okay.
it helps if I move the screen. I keep
I'll look for a motion to postpone then.
I'll move to postpone item number 10, County Ordinance CO 25-13 to our next meeting on 17th.
18th. 17th?
17th, June 17th.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Newton,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Blocker. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our next item is we did get the Community Parks and Recreation Grant for the multi-use fields out at the fairgrounds. Lydia is a little busy with recreation right now, so I told her I'd take this on. I'm going to jump to the important part, which is how much is this going to cost us? So the
Any way to
max.
blow that up?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I could just wear my glasses, but that's not going to help you, is it?
329,400.
Correct. So the max we could have received from the state grant was 200,000. So we capped out on the grant, which leaves 329,400 coming from the county.
Didn't we previously indicate that we had the funds, the
Yes.
matching funds for
Yep.
this in the regional impact fees?
Correct. Yep. The money is already designated
So what are we looking for here? Just approval of the
agreement.
of the agreement. Garrett, have you looked at the agreement?
Yes. I move that we don't have a number on it, so I move
It's just
that
an
we-
agreement.
I move that we approve the designation of the matching funds for the community park from the community. Well, it should be from community parks and recreation. No. Okay, I'll start over. I move that we approve the grant by the Utah Office of Outdoor Recreation for FY 2025 Community Parks and Recreation Grant for the fairgrounds.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fackrell and a second by Commissioner Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This is awesome, and thank you to Lydia and
She's
Kate
listening
for working
online.
on this.
That was not me. That was all Lydia.
It's a lot of extra work, so thank you for working on that, Lydia.
Now, one thing with that grant then, though, also is anything and any time that we have somebody in there on volunteer basis trying to help with that,
Correct.
make sure that we keep record of that, because that is part of the match that we have to prove to the state of Utah when we submit the final papers.
Okay.
She says she understands. The next one is Resolution CR 2529. You approved this last year. This is for a fee waiver of the rental fees for the Morgan County Fairgrounds for 2 days, as well as standby emergency medical services for the Morgalla Days Rodeo. We do have documentation that it is a nonprofit. They do have insurance and they have paid their deposit. This is a waiver of revenue.
I'm excited to see this event return
I
to
know,
the county.
second year in a row.
Second year in a row. I think it's great. I think anytime we can keep events going within the county, that's more TRT tax, that's more sales tax, it's people coming and spending money, it's restaurant tax, so I think it's great. It helps our businesses, so I fully support it.
Okay, I'll look for motion then.
That I will move to approve resolution CR 25-29.
Let's have a motion
Second.
by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I,
That's an aye in favor, correct?
Commissioner Blocker, they're
Correct.
very, okay, thank you. Then, oops, there's there. The next one doesn't have a packet item, because it was discussed in closed session. I have my marching orders, so no decision is needed on that.
Discussed in work session.
Discussed in work session. Which brings us to, action item 14. That's you, kiddo.
Thanks. So we have the interlocal with Wasatch Peaks that we've looked at multiple times. I spoke with Johnny Miller. He actually was able to come up to the county because he had another meeting in Ogden that had canceled. And as we were talking through a few things about the next item, there were some other questions that came up. And so Janet and I have been in contact with him. Janet was actually on the phone with him during the work session. And then I spoke with Wasatch Peaks Road and Fire District attorney and just let them know the indemnification provisions and insurance provisions in the agreement are not covered under USIP. And so we're going to ask that it's postponed one more time. And then what I would like to do is work with Janet and work with Johnny to review some of our indemnification provisions just to make sure that it is covered under the bylaws of USIP. Because they are very specific and they can be somewhat complicated, and rather than promising things that we shouldn't or waiving or impacting the Government Immunity Act, we just want to make sure they're buttoned up. So I know that was a long explanation, but that's why I'm asking for it to be postponed to the next meeting.
Sounds great. Mr. Chair, I move that we postpone item number 14 until our June 17th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Newton and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Right on top of it, Commissioner Blocker.
I said it
You
before you
figured
gave
out the
motion.
timing. You figured out the timing. Okay. Numero 15.
All right, so this is also an issue that I spoke with Johnny about, and it was really helpful to sit down with him and kind of discuss how do we make sure that we're falling within the Government Immunity Act, because there's certain actions that may go beyond it or may go beyond the bylaws of the Utah County Indemnity Pool, which we call USIP. So that being said, the first thing I wanted to bring up was just confirming that the car show is a Morgan County supported annual event. I know that it came before the commission, was it 2 years ago? Is it 4 years ago now?
I mean, for the car show or for,
For
the
the,
burnout?
for the car show.
Car show was 4 years ago because the city wouldn't continue doing it. The city couldn't because they didn't have enough space. So I took it over in 4 years ago.
So 4 years ago.
Right? This is our 5th year. Because I'm in my 5th year.
5th year. So would it have been, it would have come in 2021?
2021.
Okay. And so I know that we talk about it each year, but I don't know that we've officially declared it as an annual event back in 2021. And so I think just for the record, it would be helpful to do that as a commission, just to make sure if there ever was a claim that we have it on record that we discussed it in a commission meeting and the commission agreed that it was an annual event, not just, we're planning on it becoming an annual event going forward. So I think everyone's kind of basically on the same page as I see the heads nodding. Second, just clarifying what the volunteers are. I did forward an email that I had received from Johnny. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read it, but part of the discussion was, or a question from Johnny was, are the people that are coming and bringing their cars, are they signing a volunteer form to become a volunteer for the county? And I said, I'm not exactly sure. I know I created a form, I created a waiver, there were things that were done. And so from a legal perspective, my recommendation and what would be covered under USIP is that it's only the organizers and the operators of the event that are actually county volunteers, similar to the fair, for example. If someone is helping direct traffic or set up, take down for the fair, then they're a volunteer. It's not every participant or someone who, or even a vendor, they're not a volunteer for the county, they're just coming to participate. And so I thought I'd maybe ask, and Commissioner Fackrell, you probably know more than anyone, are the volunteers just the ones that are organizing the event and operating it?
That is correct. Is that correct, Toby? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and we filled out those forms every
Okay.
year.
And now the participants, they also fill out the waiver, correct?
Can Toby come up and explain it? You got to go by the.
Yeah, just in the mic there. Well, there's a participant waiver that so all the participants are filling that out to bring their car and participate in the car show, correct? Okay.
So you got 2 different ones, right? Or do you have just one?
It's just one, but I remember if it was 2022, signed off on the waiver, it was good to go.
Yeah, so I created the waiver. I think that, so I created that. But we also have a volunteer form that needs to be signed
And that's
by the
one we do.
volunteers.
They do every year for the volunteers. I know that because I asked Kurt Bryant, and he has a file.
Okay, and that's separate from the waiver.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe I can just review the volunteer form to make sure it contains all the provisions that we need. Because part of it is that they have to agree to be bound by Morgan County policies and procedures, and we've got to give them a copy of that as well. Do you know if that's happening?
I don't think the copies are happening, but I know.
And we can just do it digitally too.
It's the
and-
one you sent to us because I haven't done anything. to it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just verify that you've got, because I've updated it each year. Let's just make sure we've got the most recent one. Okay, perfect. And then So number 3, this is the burnout specific, and that's what I want to talk about. I was able to talk with Sheriff Stark because he had mentioned that he considers it reckless driving under the statute, and I went through that with him today. I would also consider it the speed contest or exhibition on the highway, and our discussion was, how do we make it legal and safe, right? So it's not that it can't be done, but it can't be done in its current form. And I wasn't able to attend, but the sheriff indicated that he'd heard someone lost control last year and people almost got hit. That was a perspective he'd heard. And regardless of whether that's accurate or not, I think that it goes to, we've got to do it in a safe and legal way.
So we changed it this year. We're gonna put a safety barricade in front of the car, so that won't happen. Obviously, that lady didn't follow the rules, and she was informed twice in the pre-meeting. And I don't know if John would give her a ticket, but we have safety precautions now in order, so there's no launching of the car. It's a stationary burnout. Max of 30 seconds is what we'll give them.
Okay.
And we do a pre-inspection of the tires and the vehicle. If it isn't street legal, then it's a no-go. The 18.
And so there will be, is it like jersey barriers in front of the car, or how is that? Like what barriers are there?
It's one of those safety barricades that you fold out. So are you put back up to exit? Are you putting
Yeah.
the concrete ones? Well, there's concrete both sides of the lane. But we were just thinking maybe that barricade can move in front of the car.
Will that stop a car?
So but if we get the concrete, I think,
The concrete would definitely stop.
yeah, so
That would
what-
be term of letting go of the brake.
maybe they'll follow the rules a little better. But what I would suggest, and in talking with Sheriff Stark, is to make it legal and out of the criminal liability realm. It has to be basically in a controlled space, and so
What is a burnout?
yeah, maybe.
It depends. I mean, like say like West Haven Car Show, they do it every year, and they have it in their park on their basketball court. And they have bleachers, and then they have the K rail on its side, and car pulls up, and then it's just smoke those tires to a white smoke, and
But how do they know who wins?
it's just the sound of the crowd. We just base
Oh,
it
really?
off of how loud the roar is. So
Huh.
it's amazing. Like every car show that does this, the turnout that you get, it's amazing. Get a lot more people than just attend the car show. If that makes sense. Like I read a story about the Logan car show, and it's just insane.
And where does this burnout take place?
On for our show.
Yeah.
So it's almost Springs Road.
Okay.
So you block it off when it's our time to do the show or the burnout. The Como can still have access in and out of the RV.
Right. So, and so here's where I think that we need Public Works and the sheriff involved to block off the road, because technically, legally, you can't block it off. You can't. Now, Public Works can, because they're the highway authority. And so when it's taking place on a public road, that's what takes it from, just a burnout contest on a court or something that's not a roadway into a roadway. Does that make sense? And so, because we don't have a facility that would be like even the rodeo arena, if you had pavement or something down there, then that would be even safer, because now you've got people that are able to see it a little bit better, they're further removed. With where you're doing it right now, though, you would need the Public Works, because they're the highway authority and they have control over the highways that the county owns. To be involved in blocking it off, I would have someone from the sheriff's office there as well, just so that they understand that it's being done for this specific purpose. And then that takes away the criminal side of it, the criminal liability. Also for the reckless driving, I think we get to removing the criminal liability and the safety issues by putting those cement barriers in front, so that, let's say someone didn't follow the rules and they did lose control, now it's not putting observers at risk.
Okay.
And so that's where you'd have it in front. And then what I would do, because you don't want to obscure the vision, right? You want to see the burnout, right? And so you would put the barrier in front, and then you kind of put it at an angle on the side. So if it did lose control and, go one way or the other, it can't go
So you're
beyond
talking
that.
like, two barricades like this, or in front of the car?
So I think if you had one in front of the car and then you had two kind of at an angle, so that even if it tried to go to the side, it can't get out that way, right? It would be blocking off. Yeah. Yep, just so it would be like right in there and it's not going anywhere. Now you're eliminating the safety concern. You're also eliminating the criminal liability of reckless driving, because now you're not doing it in a way that endangers other people, even if they did lose control. Now, one thing Johnny Miller said, though, is because he attends a lot of these burnout events, and one of the most dangerous parts is if the tires blow, the shrapnel can actually kill people when it goes out. And so he said, let's see, I'll just say what he said. All spectators are required to stand a reasonable distance from the cage to protect from smaller pieces of shredded tire that may fly through the cage fencing. And so the barriers, right, would be in the front. That limits the visual, at least at the front of the car. But then if you have a cage or like a fence that you're just moving around the back where any tires would go, it wouldn't impact the visual. They could still see the burnout, but it would keep the shrapnel from hitting at least the larger pieces that could cause a lot of damage
What would that
from
look
hitting the
like?
spectators.
Like a temporary cattle gate?
So I'm thinking, as you're talking about this,
Sorry, do you want me to zoom in?
we have a paved area right here inside that gate. There's already fences on both sides. There'd
Be too many people, I think,
be
around.
ability to do it there.
The only thing with that is that's where they park the cars, so then we'd have to have spectators on that side of the fence, but the parking.
Yeah, and you wouldn't get as many cars parked if you
Yeah.
did that probably.
And this year, how many do we have? 300?
So
already?
generally, are people just watching from the parking lot? Like, where are the spectators standing for your?
Where we had it, where we're gonna have it, or?
It's over in this, yeah.
Well,
Be
what, are
warning,
they
that is a
standing mostly in the
touchscreen.
parking lot, or are they standing along that fence?
That's why one almost got hit, is because they're crowding around.
So you've got the bleachers, you're gonna have bleachers up there this time or not?
So on the side where the parking is over here,
Oh, sorry, I hit a button.
Joel with the county said that Kent Smith Park is not using these bleachers anymore. They're like 15, but they're probably 15 feet by that high. So we're allowed to bring
Oh.
those and have them. It is a touch screen. I don't
Yeah,
think I
no,
touched
it's
it,
me.
but-
It was me. I hit a button and it flipped the image.
You're
and
gonna
it's
try to
like,
put some bleachers there.
Yeah,
I
so
guess behind the fence, right?
behind the K rail on that side,
Oh, gotcha.
we'll have probably 3 bleachers here. They're 15 feet. And on this side, last year we had the higher bleachers that Joel was able to drag over, but he said he got longer forks, so it'd be easier to move the bleachers this time, and he hopes that the bleachers don't fall apart. She was worried that it's going to fall apart, but he said he'll do what he can, try to move it. So we had the bleachers behind them, and this is chain link fence. But what we were thinking this year is
the spectators will be mainly in front of the car and no one behind, you know what I'm saying? So,
So the tires are not.
So
yeah,
the
there
tire
won't be
blow, they're not-
spectators over here where the car's in front of you. So we'll be looking at the car that's burning out this way.
Okay.
Keep the,
So the cars are gonna be facing back towards town versus towards the
facing
river.
this way, let the west.
So you're saying that there wouldn't be any spectators behind the vehicle?
Yeah, so the way we'll have the bleachers and then we'll make the markings on the road to where they're be doing the burnout. Nobody behind for that reason. Any shrapnel or tire explosions or obviously we can't control that, but I mean, as far as tires exploding, we'll do a pre-inspection of the vehicles.
But if you're controlling the spectators to not be in that area, then it removes the safety concern.
Yeah, and then I think that would, I think you're talking about on the last question was a chain link fence behind the car too to catch the shrapnel or?
Well, that's what Johnny had suggested. Just saying like around the car so that if there were spectators, they wouldn't get hit. If you're not allowing them behind, I think that removes that safety concern.
Okay, yeah, that's what we're planning on this year.
Okay. So,
And as far as blocking with the K-rail, line sheet, so we can block that road off because we have to have the county put those K-rails there. So we can have that road blocked off from like the show is from 9 to 2. Have someone from the county move them once we're done.
right. So if, so Joel's involved as well. So as long as Joel's acting under Brett's authority, then they can control the roadways in the county. So I would just make sure Brett's on board with that. Make sure Sheriff Stark is aware, and I'll follow up with Sheriff Stark and let him know about our discussion of how we're removing it from the criminal liability.
Perfect.
Thanks for all the work you guys do on this. I know it's a lot of volunteer hours. Any chance that like an old body style F-150 1994 qualifies?
We want it.
Okay.
We want it all.
Yeah.
You registered yet?
I'm gonna.
Registered mine. How many registrations do you have so far? Do you know?
We're at a little over 150.
That's awesome.
We had 207 registered last year and 70 that showed up that didn't register. So we're kind of at capacity of the fairgrounds, so we got to park them in tighter because every year the shows are bigger and bigger. So
I actually have one more question. Do you have written rules about the burnout?
yes,
Okay. And do they sign that they'll abide by the rules before they do any burnout?
yes.
Okay, perfect.
There's a registration online too. If you want to
Yeah.
do it.
So,
Gotcha.
well, I would like, Toby, would you like to, at this point, discuss what some of the ideas you would like for future years?
As far as because obviously we're already almost at capacity for the fairgrounds, and that's really the only place to put the car show. I don't know. It's expanding the fairgrounds. Mountain Green, but to keep it in with the flyover. Have you seen the flyover that we have? And here the Taggarts and the flyover. Just where we're at is a perfect spot if we can somehow expand.
We are working on a possible acquisition of land in the area.
Well, you know, maybe that parking lot to the north could be closed off for cars. It's not. I know a lot of people hate gravel and dirt. They want to park on grass.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a possibility. We could maybe look at like in the small arena, maybe we pack it down and and wetted enough that you could park some vehicles in there. I mean, I think we could accommodate some more in a few other places if we get a little creative. Yeah, we could, over by the pickleball, I mean, we could look at, you know, mowing that and having, because there's decent grass there.
Is that, you think that'd be big enough to hold like 300 or 400 cars? I mean, on that side?
No, you'd have to use both areas.
You'd have to use both.
But we thought about that in our discussions of having two parts to it. but
Yeah, you kind of separate them if you do that, which isn't quite as cool, but
Brigham has that, you know, and I think Logan, they have close to 1,100 cars.
yeah,
on
theirs
both
is
sides.
huge.
I mean, if you want to separate like Mopar and like
think
better
that's a
vehicles,
good idea.
that would be fine.
There was also another idea you discussed earlier about maybe a 2-day event versus a 1-day.
Yeah, I'd like to do a 2-day event. Obviously, get them up here, do like a, let's say, poker run maybe to get other cars involved, and that way we can go around and joyride. Stop at different businesses.
And that way they can stay at the hotel
Stay at the
and
hotel,
eat at the restaurants, and the few we have, they could see them all in 2 days. But that would bring in money for those that don't want sales tax. That would bring in money to us. Take care of all these things. So
We just want to continue to grow and be successful.
I mean, Mike Newton's dad, and his truck comes almost every year. So that's a great thing.
I've already registered 2 vehicles.
Keep them coming.
My kids love it, and so does Garrett's. They were 2 years ago, and they enjoy the fire engine too.
It's a I appreciate all the effort that goes into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks, guys.
The only update I have.
One more thing
Sure,
for you.
go for it.
On the auto show, I have had a request, and I'm gonna look up here.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to leave the map up? Is that what you're
I
needing?
want you to leave that up.
Roger.
Okay. They've also requested.
Sir, I'm going to need you to talk in the mic.
Just point it.
Okay.
Round out now, but we would like to make it into grass, and they are willing to put it in.
There's an area that's browned out. What do you mean by browned
Well,
out?
from the ticket booth
Yeah.
to where the rodeo arena is.
Yeah.
Oh, that dirt area.
Yeah.
So they're willing to put it in if we can put in, if we can by chance come up with maybe sod money or something for it.
These mics pick up
Put it
everything.
in. At least that's what Kurt was saying. But this committee would love to do that. That's what they were saying to me. So
Let's take that to the fairgrounds board and
Okay.
have them review that
okay,
plan.
all right. Can you do that for me?
Yeah,
Since I don't
can
go
take
there.
that to 'em.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank
Thank
you, you guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Garrett, for explaining that. I appreciate it.
The only update I have that hasn't been sent an email is we just got a notice today of intent to prepare a comprehensive general plan amendment from the city of Morgan, which I'm assuming talks about annexation boundaries. So I'll send that out to you. I'll get that scanned and sent it out. But that's all I have. Comments?
Ready? You're done?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Raylene, do you have anything?
Yes, I had the privilege of attending the Children's Justice Center ribbon cutting ceremony for the new building. And that was quite an honor. They're so grateful for our donation. They actually had some of the victims from 25 years ago from the Zion Society there, and some of them spoke. It was a very powerful moment, and there were a lot of general authorities there from Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a lot of dignitaries from around the state. And it's a beautiful building. If you haven't seen it, go take a tour. It's lots of windows, lights. It feels like a home where these young children can go and feel safe during their interviews and whatnot. And then our airport board is up and running, and they're working well and cohesive together, and they're making a lot of goals to improve the airport. It'll be exciting to watch. That's it.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you going to those. Commissioner Newton.
I just have one update regarding Wasatch Integrated Waste. I mentioned to you that the director, Nathan, is retiring after 26 years, I believe, there. He will retire next in 2 weeks, I believe. We have our final board meeting with them tomorrow. In hiring a replacement director, the board made an offer to an individual that ended up not going through. They have made a new offer to, and it has been accepted, to Preston Lee, who is actually a Morgan County resident, lives here in town, and has been working as the director of operations at the landfill for a number of years. He's been with Wasatch Integrated, I believe, over 20 years as well. So he will be taking over as the executive director there. I think that's great. I'm excited that it's a local and a county resident. So just wanted to report that.
Okay. That's good news.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes. So on that, Commissioner Newton, as far as the recycling, since everybody's putting their cans out already, and with them full, do we have any news on that? It's supposed to be.
So the first pickup was yesterday.
Oh.
You just need to go on the county website to see which week is your pickup week. Recycling is picked up every other week. So it's twice per month, not every single week.
But
if
it's
you
on
go
Tuesdays for everyone?
No, it'll be the same day as your trash pickup day. So if your trash pickup day is Tuesday, mine's Mondays in Croydon. It'll be the same day for recycling, but it will be every other week.
Every other week. But the other one stays the same every week.
Yeah, your trash can remains the same, no change there. It's just the recycling can will be every other week.
Do you want to review with the public for me what goes in that can? Just kind of a quick synopsis.
So every can was delivered with some stickers, and one's kind of a cling that you can stick on your refrigerator if you'd like. There's a sticker on the can as well. Inside the lid, there should be one. And you can also go on the Wasatch Integrated Waste website if you'd like more information about it. That being said, basically any recyclable materials, plastics, papers, cardboards, those can all be placed in there. They will all go down through our sorting center that's located in Layton. They're sorted and then bundled and then sold as recycled goods. Even the material, the non-recycled plastics, it gets bundled and is sold. It's not actually sold. It's disposed of at no cost. They actually burn it in the cement kiln in the cement plant in Croydon.
So hay twine is not considered one of those.
Twine is not something they want in there. It actually clogs up the sorting machines because it's lame. So yeah, your twine should go in your break.
All right. Also, I have a concern on the Dyer's Wood. We need to, Vaughn and I discussed this too. As far as the Dyer's Wood, we're just not getting anywhere with that. We're not making a dent. I mean, do we have enough teeth in the ordinance to go after those private landowners that will not do anything about it? Is my question.
No, because that's where like Fourth Amendment type issues come into play. As far as going after them, that would be civil penalties of money. But as far as going in and abating it ourselves. We can't go on someone's property, right, without well, and it's not criminal. I guess if we make it a class B misdemeanor or something like that, but I just don't know if that's the way we want to go. I liked Commissioner Newton's idea of, is there a way that, you know, there's incentivize people, like maybe there's a grant or something, or if you need help, you can reach out and we go. But I wouldn't support any ordinance that would have questionable Fourth Amendment implications.
So how can we as a commission, and can we organize or have, I don't know, volunteers if they want to? I mean, not just offering them the money, but maybe set up a day that we could go out and do that. I know down on the other side of the valley, it's already gone. Here in Morgan, it's just barely starting to turn. But if we could somehow, I mean, I've got one in front of my place and I can't do anything about it. And it's going to spread. And I mean, it's spreading throughout this county. It's not stopping. And we're going to look like Weaver County. And so is it worth the effort for us to go and do something about it, to eradicate it, or try to eradicate it, or do we just let it go? And that's a question I have, is if we could somehow get the public or the weed board to maybe come up with some kind of an idea that we can go and have them get a community effort together and have a day that we have as set aside as a day that we can go and do this. I think it would be a great idea for us to try to do that for next year. It won't be this year because it's already too late. But I was out pulling them up there in Taggart area one day, and we got a lot. And I mean, and we filled the dumpster over. We didn't know where to put it, so we put it over in the dumpster at the Public Works building. So I hope it was okay. There were a few other bags in there too. So on that, so I'm just wondering what we can do, and that's something I think we ought to keep in our minds for next year, is possibly whatever we can do to help either eradicate it, which we're not going to get, but stop it, at least slow it down, because they are devastating. And I found it. I mean, down in your parents' neck of the wood, it's down there in that Canyon View Estates. And sure, a lot of those are going to be turned up later on, but those seeds are in the ground. And I don't know what other efforts we can do, but that's just one of my concerns.
I think come budget session discussion, we ought to talk about allocating some funding for that, whether it's a grant type program, you know, maybe we set aside a few $1,000s every year that people could apply for money to help with spray costs or something, or whether it's some funding to put together a day, you know, where you have donuts and juice for everybody in the morning at the park, and then you go out and collect it and do something. I don't know, but I think that's something we could definitely do.
Yeah, because I mean, even sandbagging, you know, we get people there because they think it's, you know, it's a necessity, which it is. Well, Dyer's Wood is another one. People aren't understanding how devastating it can be. So, and then I don't know if you guys have any more questions of what Senator Curtis had to say. I mean, Vaughn really explained it quite well. And if you guys have any more questions on that, are we going to get a letters of support? I don't know. I know somebody was going to talk to UDOT. I don't know if you did or if he talked to you, Vaughn did, about that.
I submitted the commission's letter of their response to the environmental assessment, stating that they are checking about 96 staying open, 92
Yeah,
staying
92,
open.
the exit
Grant?
92.
Yeah.
And on
I
ramp.
mean, I could easily modify that into a letter of support.
Okay, so we need to go and what we need to do is we need to somehow talk to UDOT and ask them, and I'll do it if you want me to, or Vaughn will, and ask them if they would please allow the federal government to make a decision on that.
Okay.
So that's what we need to do with that. Okay. It was a great visit. Matt was sick.
I go to bed and he calls me.
Well, we were going to tell you what it was about afterward. Okay, that's all I have for now.
That's my best solution for sickness. Rest. Okay. I don't have anything. I've been on, so. For my meetings.
I don't think this was mentioned to you prior, but there's a request for a closed session for the purpose of discussing the character and professional competency of an individual.
Okay.
Today, he just wanted me to wildfire, meeting. He said he emailed everyone. He just wanted me
Yeah, I'll look for a motion then.
Okay, so I'll move that we go into closed session.
Second?
Pardon?
Go ahead.
Have a motion from Commissioner Newman, a second from Commissioner Fackrell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All we had to do was make sure that Raylene's